Chapter 1592. Target equals underscore blank. Search novels Boss Ju. You know the situation in the house right now. Grandpa's an isolated practice. And he and Master specifically told us that no matter what happens, we have to bear with it and wait for him to come out of isolation. Qibing said. And that Zhao Qikuan is back as well. If we make any sudden moves and he catches us, we'll be in trouble. I see. Boss Ju was a loyal follower of the hidden house Zhao's. After hearing Elder Bai and Master Zhao's orders, they naturally had to bear with it. But Boss Ju was a little confused. Then Master Bing, why did you call me here? Revenge is a given, but not now. Qibing gritted his teeth. That Lenny brat, I'll kill him sooner or later. But right now, the most important thing is to find a way to heal Uncle Zhu, and let him recover as soon as possible. Even if he can't practice, he needs to stay alive. He's my follower. Even if he's a cripple, I, Qibing, will take care of him. Master Bing, you're truly a wise and kind master. My Zhu brothers, what did we do to deserve Master Bing's favor? Don't worry, Master Bing, I, Boss Zhu, won't disappoint you. Boss Zhu was touched. Although he felt that Master Bing was putting on an act, since it didn't cost much to take care of a cripple, this friendship was very touching. Secondly, we can't make a move in the open, but we can plan and see if we can do it in the dark. We have to ask my master about this. Qibing said. Boss Zhu, you're a trump card, we can't just use you. Right now, only Grandpa and Master know that you've broken through to Earth class. Qikuan, and the others probably don't know yet, so you'll be my trump card for the head of house. We can't reveal ourselves too early. I understand. Elder Zhu quickly nodded his head and replied. I called you here to advise you not to be too impulsive. We need to be careful. Qibing said. Before Grandpa comes out of isolation, we need to stay calm. Don't worry, Master Bing. I won't be rash. I'll look at the big picture. I won't do anything rash. Boss Zhu said. That's good. Qibing said. I've already sent a message to Master. I reckon that Master will soon find out about this. When Qibing messaged House Zhao, he heard that Elder Bai was visiting Elder Zhao. Naturally, he didn't have time to pick up the phone. He'd contact Qibing after the visit was over. While they were talking, Elder Bai's call came in. Qibing, why are you looking for me? Elder Bai, on the other hand, quickly returned Elder Zhao's call upon hearing that Qibing was looking for him. Master, something big happened here. Qibing said, explaining everything to Elder Bai, including his analysis of Boss Zhu. Surprise attack. You did the right thing. Elder Bai praised. To achieve great things, one needs to be able to endure for a moment. Sometimes compromising doesn't mean admitting defeat, but rather wisdom. Yes, your disciple will remember your words, Master. Before Grandpa comes out of isolation, we must keep a low profile. Qibing said. What should we do now? Regarding Boss Zhu, I'll think of something, but with his injuries like this, I'm afraid I can't do anything. Let's just wait and see. I can't say that I can cure him, but keeping him alive should be no problem. Ask Boss Zhu to send him to me, Elder Bai said. As for dealing with Lin Yi, there's no need to rush. We'll talk about that after your grandpa comes out of isolation. The old head broke through to Sky Class, and he has some say in the Noble House Council. He can even become one of the elders there. As far as I know, the Aristocratic Family Arbitration Council isn't completely united. After that person left, the elders of the Aristocratic Family Arbitration Council have been occupied by the heaven-rank experts of the various hidden families. At first, everyone was wholeheartedly working for the common good, but now without news of that person, who would still follow the rules from back then. As far as I know, some people are already eager to change the rules of the Arbitration Association. Oh, so you're saying that there won't be any restrictions on the hidden house's appearance in the common world? Qibing quickly asked. I can't say that there won't be any restrictions, but it's still possible to turn a blind eye, Elder Bai said. Of course, I've only heard a general idea. I don't have a definite conclusion yet. Although the council isn't as united as it used to be, there are still people who are against it. So that's how it is. Then I won't be in a hurry, Qibing nodded. Also, Qikuan is back. You need to be careful as well. I'll help you heal your leg. but the gap between you and Qi Kuan is too big. Other than your contributions to House Zhao, you don't have much of an advantage over Qi Kuan. You can't slack off on your training. Elder Bai said. Don't worry, master. I'll work hard. Qibing wasn't joking. He really did mean it. For the head of house position, he'd decided to give it his all. At first, Lin Yi thought that the hidden House Zhao would do something. At the very least, they'd send an Earth class to cause trouble. But after waiting for 2 days, nothing happened. This disappointed Lin Yi. To tell the truth, Lin Yi was willing to do anything for the sake of breaking through. Lin Yi even wanted to fight an Earth class to motivate himself to break through. The Lin Yi now was different from the Lin Yi in the tomb. Back then, Lin Yi was only Mystic mid-class peak. Now Lin Yi was Mystic late class. He was only 2 steps away from Earth class. After all, if he gave it his all, there was a chance that he'd be able to make it. Moreover, this was exactly what he was looking for. But the hidden House Zhao was like a tortoise, not making a sound at all. This made Lin Yi very depressed. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the class reunion. Lin Yi waited for the masters from House Zhao, but they didn't show up. He could only go to the resort with Ming Yao and Yushu. The resort was located in a small town near Songshan. The scenery here was not bad, but most of it was man-made. But to these students it didn't matter. They were here to eat, drink, and play, not to see the scenery. Chapter 1593. Target equals _ blank. E-Search Novels Chapter 1592. Love sponsored by Zhong Pingliang, of course. There were also those who had vague feelings for each other back in high school. Due to the stress of the exams, they didn't have the chance to make things clear. Now that they'd graduated, they had plenty of time and wanted to use this opportunity to get closer to their sweetheart. When Lin Yi's Land Rover stopped at the resort's parking lot, there were already quite a few luxury cars parked there. Lin Yi hadn't realized that there were quite a few rich people in his class, but it made sense. Songshan's first school was a private school, but it was also a school for the rich. Other than Tang Yun, who had exceptional grades, the rest of the students were from decent families. Lin Yi had just parked his car when a Mercedes-Benz SUV stopped next to Lin Yi's car, giving Lin Yi a fright. But when he saw the driver, he smiled faintly. Kong Xiaobo, you bought a car too? Lin Yi smiled as he looked at the temporary license plate on the car. The car hadn't been officially registered yet, so it was obvious that it had just been picked up. Ah, boss, you don't care about me at all, Kong Xiaobo said bitterly as he jumped off the car. I called your house a few times recently, but that Wu Qingtian guy said you were working hard on your cultivation. I didn't dare disturb you. I thought you got a new follower and didn't want me anymore. Ah, Lin Yi smiled. I was a bit busy. That's why I didn't contact you guys. But you're follower number 1. And Qingtian is at most follower number 3 or 4. He'll have to be more polite when talking to you. He's quite eye-catching. I'm not a practitioner, but he's very respectful to me. Kong Xiaobo nodded. This car was just picked up. Fatty Lai told me to get one a long time ago. He said that I'm the vice chairman of the company, but I don't even have a car. It's a bit too shabby to go out and meet customers, but I was afraid that it would be too high profile, so I only bought it after the college entrance exam. Even though Fatty Lai was the general manager of the medical company and Kong Xiaobo was the vice president, he didn't have any objections when Kong Xiaobo called him Fatty Lai. After all, he was Lin Yi's underling, and in terms of seniority, he was still Kong Xiaobo's underling. How's the company doing? Lin Yi hadn't studied the company for a long time. There had been too many things going on recently, so he hadn't asked about it. The painkiller is already on the market, and the response is very good. There's no problem with the sales volume. It's just that the production line needs to be expanded again. Kong Xiaobo smiled bitterly. Boss, the company's finances are suddenly a lot tighter after you transferred 100 million yuan away. Lin Yi remembered that the 100 million he'd spent on the Ice Palace test was from Fatty Lai. It seemed that he'd have to find a way for Fatty Lai and Xiaobo to earn some money. It seemed that they were in a bit of a tight spot right now. Yeah, when I'm free, I'll think of a way to get some money. Lin Yi was thinking. Should House Yu or House Xiao fork out this money? Or should he extort a bit from each? These two families weren't stable, so they better not mess with him. What a miscalculation. When Ice Palace left Xiao Xiao behind, wouldn't it have been better if Linny had asked for the deposit back? Ice Palace wouldn't have refused to give him the deposit. Who knew? They might even give him an extra reward. There's no need to rush. The most we're doing now is breaking even. It'll get better slowly, Kong Xiaobo said. Kong Xiaobo and Linny parked their car, and the resort security came over to help them put up reflective cones to prevent other cars from hitting them. Welcome to Tiandi Resort, the security said politely. Tiandi Resort? Linny paused. He'd only mentioned the resort's name during the class reunion, and since there was a resort in town, he'd forgotten about the resort's name. Now it seemed that Zhou Tiandi owned it. Your boss is Zhou Tiandi? Linny looked at the security and asked casually. Yes, sir. May I ask if you know our boss? The security didn't dare delay. He saw that Linny and Kong Xiaobo were both driving luxury cars here. They might actually know the boss. Oh, I do. Linny nodded. Sir, should we contact the boss? The security asked politely. No need. Linny waved his hand casually. He was only here for a class reunion, and there wasn't anything to do with Zhou Tiandi. Okay. The security didn't say anything else. After locking the car, Linny, Kong Xiaobo, and the others walked to the resort's lobby. There were already some students inside, and when they saw Kong Xiaobo, they surrounded him warmly. There were both men and women. Linny was the boss behind Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and only a few people close to him knew about it. However, the fact that Kong Xiaobo was the vice president of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was known by everyone in class. After all, Kong Xiaobo had been attending the new product announcements recently, and he'd been interviewed many times by the media. Kong Xiaobo's fame had increased by several folds. Regarding this unknown person who suddenly rose from an unknown person to a general manager, some of the smarter girls couldn't help but beat their chest and stomp their feet. How could they have been so wrong before? Didn't they see Kong Xiaobo's potential? But after asking around, they found out that Kong Xiaobo already had a girlfriend. These people regretted not taking advantage of this opportunity. But now the students who didn't get into university started thinking. If they could build a good relationship with Kong Xiaobo, it wouldn't be a problem for them to get a position in the medical company, at least for the sake of their old classmate. They didn't need to be in charge of a department or manager. Normal staff would do. After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was a company with a very good future. Being able to work in it was already very good. Linny patted Kong Xiaobo's shoulder and led Mingyao and Yushu to the sofa in the corner. He wasn't very familiar with his classmates, and in this kind of situation, they were all looking for Kong Xiaobo, so he was even more quiet. A while later, Pinliang and Xiaofu arrived as well. The two of them were naturally the targets of flattery from the other students. Pinliang's family had quite a few businesses, and the students who'd lost their jobs after graduation wanted to make a living from Pinliang's company. Liang Bro and the class monitor discussed and decided to organize this event together. Originally, the class monitor said that everyone's expenses would be split, and if it wasn't enough, we'd have to use the rest of the class fees as a supplement. But Liang Bro said that he'll be paying for this event. Everyone, eat and drink to your heart's content. Gao Xiaofu saw that almost everyone had arrived, so he announced to everyone. Chapter 1594. Chapter 1593. Zhong Pingliang's toast, that's great. Everyone cheered when they heard that someone was treating them. Although most of the students were from wealthy families, they were happy to be able to save a few hundred RMB in one go. 7 asterisk. Liang Bro has prepared a sumptuous feast for everyone tonight. Let's go to the dining hall, Xiaofu said. It was almost dinner time, and everyone was hungry. After hearing Xiaofu's words, everyone stood up happily and walked towards the dining hall. Linny frowned. He was curious about Zhong Pingliang's behavior. This guy had been quiet for a while. Why was he so active again? Besides, he had no hope of pursuing Mingyao anymore. He knew that. Why was he spending money to treat them? Did he have too much money and nowhere to spend it? It seemed like Zhong Pingliang's family was rich. Lin Yi was worried about the lack of funds. Since this guy was so rich, he would have to go to his father, Zhong Fabai, to get some money. However, Xiaofu didn't mention Meng Yao when he was talking, and he didn't even look at Lin Yi. This made Lin Yi even more confused. Could it be that they only wanted to treat them and nothing else? Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu stood up as well. Although they didn't like Zhong Pingliang, they still had to eat. Meng Yao was sitting in the corner earlier, and no one dared to approach her. But now that she was walking towards the dining hall, many girls who didn't get into university went up to her. It couldn't be helped. Sometimes reality was just like that. If Meng Yao could help them get a job in one of Pengzhan Industries' subsidiary companies, that would be the best thing that could happen to them. In their eyes, going to university was just for a good job. If they could get into Pengzhan Industries through Meng Yao's connections, it would be like reaching the heavens in one step. The miss may have a cold personality, but Lin Yi knew that she was the type of person who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. They had been classmates for a long time after all. No matter how good their relationship was, Meng Yao still cared about their friendship. Meng Yao took out her phone and recorded down the names and phone numbers of those who came to her. She was going to send them to Faubert when the time came, so that Faubert could give them a chance to try. As for whether or not they could do their jobs well, that would depend on themselves. Meng Yao wasn't a philanthropist, and this was all she could do to help them. It was the same for Kong Xiaobo. Most of them agreed to give them a chance, but if they couldn't pass the internship, there was nothing they could do. On the web LVS. Even so, everyone was already very happy. One had to know that if one wanted to work in such a big group, they either had a good diploma or a good work experience. It was already very difficult for these high school graduates who didn't have either to get a chance. There were more than 30 people at this reunion, and they were divided into 2 tables. The banquet was quite sumptuous, and Pinliang didn't lack money. He ordered all kinds of delicacies. They were all classmates, so they didn't need to be reserved. After Pinliang raised his glass and said, "Everyone, don't be shy. Eat and drink to your heart's content." After that, he didn't say anything else. Everyone started to move and toasted each other. The college entrance exam was over, and it didn't matter if they got into college or not. They were all very happy. Needless to say, those who got into college, and those who didn't got into college got a job from Kong Xiaobo, Meng Yao and Pinliang. As far as they were concerned, even if one job wasn't good enough, they could always ask for help from others. There were 3 jobs, and there would always be one that suited them. So these students who were worried about their future were even more excited now. "Shield bro, this crab is delicious. Try it." Yushu gave a crab to Lin Yi. "Shield bro, this beef is delicious. Try it." Yushu gave a piece of beef to Lin Yi. "Shield bro, this pastry is delicious. Try it." Yushu gave a piece of beef to Lin Yi. And so, the food on Lin Yi's plate became a small mountain in a short while. No one was envious of Lin Yi's luck with women. On one hand, Yushu was someone they couldn't reach, and on the other hand, Yushu's strong brother wasn't someone they could handle. Some people speculated that Yushu's brother would come and beat up Lin Yi if he knew that her sister had a boyfriend. What they didn't know was that Chen Yutian was burning incense in the hospital every day, praying for his sister to marry Lin Yi. If that happened, House Chen would be rich. "Lin Yi, let me give you a toast." Suddenly, after 3 rounds of drinking, Pinliang stood up with his glass and said to Lin Yi. The noisy banquet immediately quieted down, and everyone looked at Pinliang strangely. Everyone knew that Pinliang and Lin Yi didn't get along. Ever since Lin Yi transferred schools, the two had a deep conflict. Although Lin Yi won over Pinliang later, Pinliang was still angry. So Pinliang's toast was a little strange. Lin Yi looked at Pinliang suspiciously as well, not knowing what he was up to. "Xiaofu, pour a glass for Lin Yi." Pinliang didn't care about everyone's gazes and ordered Xiaofu. "Yes." Xiaofu picked up a bottle of wine and opened it himself, raising it respectfully in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi frowned slightly, but he couldn't reject it in front of everyone. They were classmates after all, and if he didn't accept it now, everyone would think that Lin Yi was a narrow-minded person. Although Lin Yi didn't care, he didn't want to ruin everyone's mood. Lin Yi smiled and raised his glass, letting Xiaofu pour for him. He smiled faintly. Pinliang, why are you giving me a toast all of a sudden? Linny, we had some conflicts before, but now that we've graduated, we're classmates. Let's forget about it. Pinliang said sincerely. We'll be good classmates from now on, and it'll be hard for us to meet again after graduation. The conflicts in the past don't mean anything anymore. It's all in this glass of wine. Oh. Linny looked at Pinliang's sincere face, and his suspicions grew even stronger. He didn't believe that Pinliang was being so nice. Linny had just fought with Zhang Naipeo, and he could see how much Pinliang hated Lin Yi just by looking at Naipeo. How could it be resolved just like that? Could it be that because Zhang Naipeo was crippled, Pinliang felt that he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi anymore? So he compromised? But it didn't seem like it. Chapter 1595. Everyone drinks from Lin Yi's perspective. Pinliang used to be a brainless student, but he'd disappeared for a while until Zhang Naipeo showed up. Lin Yi realized that Pinliang had been hiding this whole time. This guy wasn't like what he looked like on the surface. He'd actually sent Zhang Naipeo up the mountain to learn martial arts, and that meant that he was determined to deal with Lin Yi. So it was a joke to say that he'd defuse the situation now. When Xiaofu was pouring the wine, the jade on Lin Yi's chest sent out a weak warning signal. This made Lin Yi feel that there was a trap here. But this weak signal also indicated that there would be some danger. But it wouldn't be too big. Otherwise, the jade's warning wouldn't be so weak. Lin Yi raised the glass and sniffed. A strong smell of alcohol assaulted his nostrils. The alcohol content of this wine was definitely much higher than the white wine they'd been drinking. Lin Yi looked at the bottle in Xiaofu's hand again. It was no different from the wine they'd been drinking. Lin Yi understood immediately. Pinliang might really be at his wit's end, so he decided to use a friendly method to trip Lin Yi up, trying to get him drunk with a high alcohol content white wine. His goal was clear as well. He wanted Lin Yi to make a fool of himself. As for whether or not there was something wrong with the wine, Lin Yi hadn't considered it. With Lin Yi's medical skills, there was nothing special about the wine other than the high alcohol content. It was Pinliang's idea to change the alcohol in the bottle to something with a high alcohol content. Zhang Naipeo had said that the medicine was colorless, odorless, and odorless. Masters under Earth class wouldn't be able to detect it, but Pinliang was still worried that Lin Yi would get suspicious. So he asked Xiaofu to change the low alcohol content white wine to a high alcohol content white wine. As far as Pinliang was concerned, Lin Yi wasn't an idiot. If he toasted him for no reason, Lin Yi would definitely be suspicious and even refuse. But if he did something to the wine and made Lin Yi think that he was trying to set him up, then Lin Yi might actually believe him. One had to admit that Pinliang's intelligence was on a whole different level compared to before. He had the ability to think in reverse. St. Hall 7 asterisk. And so Pinliang really did get what he wanted. It wasn't that Lin Yi was careless, but the medicine was provided by an ancient sect. No matter how good Lin Yi was, his medical skills were only at the top of the common world. In the common world, he could still be called a miracle doctor. But in the hidden world, even someone like Yao Wang could compete with Lin Yi. And so, Lin Yi didn't notice anything else in the wine. He raised his glass and said, "If that's the case, then I'll drink this." St. Hall. Great. Pinliang laughed and raised his glass as well, drinking it in front of Lin Yi. I say, Pinliang, I saw that the wine in your glass was half a glass, wasn't it? That's not nice, is it? Lin Yi said faintly, not drinking the wine. Ah. Pinliang paused. He really didn't notice whether his glass was half or full. Then, I'll drink another? He was in a hurry to get Lin Yi to drink the drugged wine. So he was in a hurry. He would rather drink another glass himself. In fact, his glass was full before, and Lin Yi was just teasing him. Lin Yi couldn't drink such a high alcohol content wine himself and let Pinliang take advantage of it. Could he? Lin Yi was never one to let others take advantage of him. So Lin Yi planned to let Pinliang have a taste of high alcohol content wine. If they were to get drunk, they'd get drunk together. Besides, Lin Yi wouldn't get drunk at all. This level of alcohol content was worlds apart from old Lin's wine. Alright Fu, fill it up for Pinliang. I can tell that Pinliang is a straightforward person. Linny said. Xiaofu was holding the drugged wine in his hand. He was waiting for Linny to finish before pouring another glass for Linny. Who would have thought that Linny would ask him to pour for Pinliang? Pinliang, on the other hand, was stunned. What should he do? He couldn't ask Xiaofu to change the bar now, could he? That would be too obvious. Wouldn't it be the same as admitting that he had drugged Lin Yi's wine? Xiaofu held the bottle in his hand, unable to back down. Pinliang gritted his teeth. There must be prostitutes in this resort. After he was done drinking, he'd just have to find a prostitute to take care of it. That wouldn't be a problem. At that thought, Pinliang said, Fu, what are you waiting for? Fill it up. Okay. Xiaofu nodded and poured the wine for Pinliang. Just when he thought that everything was fine, Linny spoke up again. Fu, we've had some conflicts in the past, right? Since this is the time, you should have a cup too. 1 cup of wine, and we'll forget about the grudge. Xiaofu was helpless. But seeing that Pinliang was pouring the wine, he had no reason to refuse. He had no choice but to pour himself another glass. It was impossible to change the bottle under the watchful eyes of the crowd. And so, the 3 of them raised their glasses. And with a smile, they were all poisoned. Fortunately, the effects of the drug had a time limit. When it didn't take effect, nothing happened. He was no different from a normal person. So, Pinliang forced a smile and ate with everyone. To be honest, a glass of high alcohol content was nothing to someone like Pinliang, whose family owned a nightclub. He started drinking in middle school, so he wouldn't get drunk so easily. Xiaofu, on the other hand, was his usual drinking partner, so he didn't get drunk either. But what they were worried about now was, what should they do about the poison? They had to find a way to vent it. They had a plan later. They had to watch Linny flirt with Meng Yao and ruin Lin Yi's reputation. The banquet was over, and Pinliang distributed the room cards to the students. We've just finished eating, and everyone drank quite a bit. Go back to your rooms and rest. We'll gather at the resort's lobby at 9. I've booked the entertainment room, and we'll all go have some fun. Pinliang said. Fu and I can't hold our liquor, so we'll be going first. No problem. The group took their room cards and went back to their rooms. Lin Yi's room card, however, was for a 3-person suite with Meng Yao and Yushu. What was Pinliang trying to do by putting him with Meng Yao and Yushu? Lin Yi was a little surprised. It was normal for guys to share a room with guys, and girls to share a room with girls. What was Pinliang trying to do? But Pinliang and Xiaofu were already far away. Chapter 1596. Chapter 1595. Bad idea. Lin Yi didn't ask any questions, and went back to his room with Meng Yao and Yushu. They lived under the same roof back at home, after all, so it wouldn't be awkward to sleep in the same room. Liang bro, didn't we say we'd find a reason to send Yushu away? Why aren't you doing it? Xiaofu asked on the way back to his room. We don't have time, you idiot. We're both drugged, and it's about to act up. We need to get back to our rooms and find a lady to take care of it. Otherwise, we won't have time to catch Lin Yi in the act. Pinliang said. Yeah, you're right. Xiaofu nodded. But Pao said that the drug's too strong. And even if Yushu's willing, Meng Yao's definitely not. When Lin Yi and Xiaofu do it together, haha. Let's take a picture together. It'll be fun. That's right, Xiaofu's gotten smarter recently. Pinliang nodded. On the way back to his room, Lin Yi felt that something wasn't right. His body was starting to heat up. With Lin Yi's medical skills, he could tell that this wasn't a sign of him drinking too much, but it was like he'd been drugged with some sort of aphrodisiac. A normal person wouldn't be able to make such a precise judgment. But Lin Yi didn't know how he'd been poisoned. But he knew the symptoms after being poisoned like the back of his hand. Not good. Lin Yi sighed inwardly. He'd been careless, and there had to be something in that glass of wine. The only thing Lin Yi could think of was that glass of wine. But Lin Yi had purposely checked the quality of the wine. There shouldn't be any drugs in it. And Lin Yi was worried that he'd let Pinliang and Xiaofu drink a glass each. That was why Lin Yi had dared to drink it. He didn't think that these two would risk being poisoned just to let him drink it. What was their goal then? Looking at Meng Yao and Yushu beside him, Lin Yi could roughly guess Pinliang's plan. He probably wanted Meng Yao or Yushu to have sex with him, so he could ruin his or Meng Yao's reputation. This kind of trick seemed very ordinary, but if it was done properly, it could produce unexpected results. As for Shu, he was confident that she wouldn't react if he pushed her down. But the miss? It was hard to say. Pin Liang might have figured this out, and that was why he came up with this plan. If the miss resisted, Pin Liang could record the scene and announce that Lin Yi was a rapist. Even if Meng Yao denied it, Lin Yi's reputation would be greatly affected. Pin Liang couldn't do anything to Lin Yi with Zhang Naipeo, and since there was nothing else he could do, it wasn't a bad idea to annoy Lin Yi. Most importantly, everyone was drunk, and he could deny that he was the one who did it, pushing all the blame away. What a smart guy. But Lin Yi was a medical expert, and he didn't mind the aphrodisiac. He could cure himself with acupuncture, but Pin Liang and Gao Xiaofu, how were they going to deal with it? Lin Yi suddenly thought of this problem, and a weird smile appeared on his face. He took out his phone and called Zhou Ruoming. Hayashi Lin, what can I do for you? Zhou Ruoming was sleeping at home when he heard his phone ringing. He didn't want to pick it up, and was about to hang it up when he saw Lin Yi's name on the caller ID. It scared him awake, and he quickly picked up the phone. He was a little scared. If he had hung up the phone, he and the Zhou family would have been in trouble. Tiandi Resort is your family's property, right? Lin Yi asked. Templar Web. Yes, what can I do for you, Hayashi Lin? Zhou Ruoming was startled. Could it be that the general manager of Tiandi Resort offended Lin Yi? Zhou Ruoming wanted to curse. What trouble? I can't even wait to serve Lin Yi, and you still want to cause trouble for me? Oh, it's nothing. Do you have prostitutes here? Lin Yi asked. Yes. Hayashi Lin needs them. Zhou Ruoming relaxed when he heard that no one offended Lin Yi. Thank goodness nothing happened. Oh, call the manager here. Tell him that there's no prostitutes tonight. Don't let them in, even if they call from outside. Lin Yi said to Zhou Ruoming. I mean, can you do it seriously? Don't worry, Hayashi Lin. I'll do it now. Although Zhou Ruoming didn't know what Lin Yi meant, he didn't need to know. He would do whatever Lin Yi asked him to do. As long as he made Lin Yi happy, everything would be fine. After hanging up the phone, Zhou Ruoming called the manager of the resort urgently and told him what Lin Yi meant. In the end, he threatened. I tell you, if you do it well, I will reward you. If you mess it up, I won't forgive you. It's not that simple. If anything happens to me, I will drag you to hell with me. The manager's heart almost dropped out of his chest when he heard Ruoming's words. He had the backing of House Zhou, and they were all gangsters. If that was the case, then he'd have to get this done. Ruoming didn't want to let House Zhou off the hook. Thus, the manager of the resort had his men gather all the prostitutes together and lock them in the conference room, afraid that they would take private jobs. Then, he ordered all the security guards to close the door of the resort and not receive any guests. The purpose was to prevent a prostitute from sneaking in. Speaking of which, this reason was a little funny, but the resort's experience was carried out meticulously. It was a little confusing. Pin Liang and Xiaofu went back to their room and called the service desk, asking them to send 2 girls up. We're a legitimate resort. We don't do this kind of illegal business. Please forgive us, sir. Pin Liang and Xiaofu said. We're a legitimate resort. We don't do such illegal business. Fuck. Zhong Pingliang was about to explode. Who were they trying to fool? When he first chose this resort as the gathering place, it was also because he had played here before. At that time, he had found a few prostitutes. So Zhong Pingliang thought that the person at the front desk was new. He said, Get your lobby manager to call me. What do we do, Liang bro? Is there really no such business here? What should we do? Gao Xiaofu panicked when he heard that. Don't worry, I know their lobby manager. Heibao bro and I used to play here often. Zhong Pingliang said, missing Heibao bro. Sigh, I wonder how Heibao bro is doing. Chapter 1597. Yeah, we should go visit Heibao bro one day. Xiaofu nodded sadly. Heibao bro is a loyal follower of House Zhong. We can't let him down. Pinliang said that, but he was thinking that Heibao was still useful to them. Truth be told, Heibao's crimes weren't that serious. and he would one day be released from prison. He'd still be useful then. Heibao's identity as the disciple of the everyday and everyday sect was enough to make Naipeo an inner disciple. This was a power that couldn't be underestimated. Heibao's strength wasn't much, but his connections were. And so Pinliang thought that it'd be easier for him to talk to the everyday and everyday sect's leader in the future. Then we'll go visit him in a few days? Xiaofu asked. Sure, but we need to solve the problem in front of us first. Pinliang's mouth was dry, and his body was burning up. It was unbearable. Fortunately, it wasn't long before the manager called. Pinliang introduced himself to the manager. The manager knew Pinliang and knew that he was the one paying for this event. He was very polite to Pinliang. Young Master Zhang, may I know why you're looking for me? Manager Zhang, hurry up and get me 2 girls, pretty ones. We'll talk about the rest later. Pinliang was burning with lust. He didn't want to waste time with the manager. Young Master Zhang, that's not easy. Our resort doesn't provide this kind of service right now. Manager Zhang remembered Master Ming's orders. He wouldn't dare get Pinliang any girls. Bullshit. My family runs a nightclub too, of course I know that. I still have them the last time I came. Hurry up. Cut the crap. Pinliang panicked after hearing the manager's words. Young Master Zhang, we really don't have them. The CEO emphasized this before. And we're starting to shift our business to legitimate businesses. We don't provide this kind of service anymore. Manager Zhang didn't want to offend Pinliang. After all, Pinliang was a big customer here, and he was in the same line of work as Fabai. Then get me 2 girls from outside. Hurry up. Pinliang couldn't take it anymore. Young Master Zhang. I'm sorry. We don't have any contact information. Why don't you go out and look for it yourself? Manager Zhang said euphemistically. Since he couldn't get the miss into the resort, he could only ask Pinliang to move out of the resort. If he went out, he'd have nothing to do with the resort. But Pinliang wasn't in the mood to look for it. He couldn't wait any longer. And he was unfamiliar with this place. Where was he going to find it? Even if he found 2 from his own nightclub, it would take more than an hour of driving. It would be too late. Pinliang was filled with hatred. Was there something wrong with this resort? He even turned to the legitimate industry. Of all times, it had to turn now. What about him and Gao Xiaofu? Damn it. I'm never coming to this place again. Pinliang hung up the phone angrily, but there was nothing he could do. Brother Liang, what should we do? I can't take it anymore. Gao Xiaofu also heard the contents of the phone call and was sweating profusely. What else can we do? I'll go to the washroom and masturbate myself. Pinliang was at his wit's end. He didn't know if he could release the effects of the drug. Zhang Naipeo didn't say anything. Gao Xiaofu wasn't too willing, but Liang Bro had already masturbated. He had no choice but to follow along. Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu entered the room. Meng Yao was just about to ask Lin Yi something. What was the meaning of the call to Zhou Ruoming? But Lin Yi's face was completely red. His forehead was covered in sweat, and he looked like a crab that had just been fished out of the pot. Lin Yi, what's wrong? What happened to you? Are you feeling unwell? Meng Yao asked immediately. Oh, Shield Bro seems to have been cooked. Yushu said, shocked. Pinliang, someone put aphrodisiac in the wine. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't mean to lie to Meng Yao and Yushu. There was no point in hiding something like this. Meng Yao jumped. Then what should we do? Shield Bro, are you feeling unwell? Do you need Shu's help? Yushu asked. Lin Yi took in a deep breath. He almost couldn't hold it in. Wasn't Yushu forcing him to do something he shouldn't do at a time like this? Fortunately, he was an assassin who had gone through strict training. His willpower wasn't something a normal person could compare to. Otherwise, he might have fallen for Shu's words. Seeing Lin Yi's red eyes, Meng Yao knew that Yushu was in trouble. She glared at her. Shu, what are you talking about? I won't help you if Lin Yi pushes you onto the bed. But Shu's not ready yet. Do you want it now? Yushu didn't seem to understand Meng Yao's words at all. Or did she misunderstand? Yao Yao, take her to the side to play. Don't worry about me. Lin Yi didn't know what to do. Was Yushu forcing him to do something wrong? Lin Yi tried to ignore Yushu as he used his pure energy to suppress the drug in his body. He then took out a box of needles from his pocket. Using needles to force out the poison was Lin Yi's forte. As long as he could endure it for a while, he would be fine. Shu. Meng Yao saw Lin Yi's pain. She glared at Yushu and pulled her into the room. Shu, on the other hand, was a little worried. Yao Yao, I heard that it's not easy to cure someone who's poisoned by aphrodisiac. Will Shield Bro be okay? Maybe. I'll take the loss and help him? Yushu said. How are you going to help him? Meng Yao was worried about Lin Yi, but she had no choice. She couldn't sacrifice herself, could she? So she quickly asked after Shu said it. You can use your hands or something else, Yushu said with her chest puffed up. Puffed. Meng Yao almost vomited blood. What kind of idea was that? If it really doesn't work, I'll sacrifice myself. I've decided to be Shield Bro's small wife anyway. Yushu didn't care about Meng Yao's reaction and continued. Meng Yao was speechless, but in her heart, Yushu's words stirred up an inexplicable ripple. She didn't know what to feel. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for me at Chidian. Your support is my greatest motivation. Target =_blank. Chapter 1598. Chapter 1597. Inner struggle if she wasn't here. Would Lin Yi be with her if he couldn't handle it? Meng Yao suddenly had a faint anticipation in her heart, but at the same time, she felt that her thoughts were too ridiculous. She didn't even like him, and he liked Tang Yin? But did he really not like her? Yao Yao, what's wrong? Yushu looked at the weird expression on Meng Yao's face and asked curiously. Holy hell, no. Nothing. Meng Yao shook her head, dispelling her unrealistic thoughts. Then, should I go help? Yushu asked impatiently. Don't cause trouble. Lin Yi said that he has a solution. Meng Yao didn't know why, but she didn't want Yushu to go over. Lin Yi was stabbing the acupuncture points all over his body. But Lin Yi heard the conversation between Meng Yao and Yushu very clearly. Lin Yi smiled bitterly, trying his best not to think about those evil thoughts. Towards Yao Yao and Shu, Lin Yi naturally liked them. Humans weren't plants. How could they be emotionless? Plus, they'd lived together for so long, and they had a strange feeling for each other. Although Tang Yin had more or less acquiesced to the Miss and Shu's existence, Lin Yi really couldn't tell what they were thinking. The Miss's feelings seemed to be right, but they weren't. Website. Under Yushu's silly passion, it was hard to tell what was real and what was fake. Plus, Lin Yi already had Tang Yin and Xiao Xiao. If something really happened with the Miss or Shu here, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to get past himself. Even if he wanted to do it, Lin Yi would ask for Tang Yun's opinion first. This was the most basic respect. Lin Yi couldn't do whatever he wanted just because of Tang Yun's connivance. However, Lin Yi soon discovered that the method of detoxification with silver needles didn't seem to have any effect on him. His body temperature was still rising. The drug's effects seemed to have taken effect, but Lin Yi didn't show any signs of reversing. His heart grew stronger and stronger, causing Lin Yi's expression to become even more ferocious and terrifying. However, Lin Yi still maintained his rationality. He sat cross-legged on the ground and asked Jiao Yazi anxiously, Jiao Lao, what should I do now? The situation seems to be very serious. Why don't you try using your Jinqi to dissolve it? Jiao Yazi thought for a moment and said, Your energy is an all-purpose energy. Can you see if you can convert this energy to reduce the medicinal effects in your body? All right. Lin Yi nodded and entered the space of the jade pendant. He activated the art of dragon mastery and used the energy in the space to neutralize the aphrodisiac poison in his body. However, what surprised Lin Yi was that it seemed to have some effect. However, the aphrodisiac's effects seemed to be extremely overbearing. Every bit of it he refined required a large amount of energy to enter his body. However, this was still better than nothing. Lin Yi had time. In another room of the resort, Zhong Pingyang and Gao Xiaofu were panting and sweating from exhaustion. Liang bro, I can't do it either. My arm is about to break. Gao Xiaofu said with a bitter face. Pao's medicine is a little too overbearing, isn't it? Who said it wasn't? My arm is about to break too, but we need to work harder. Think about Lin Yi. We need to hurry, or it'll be meaningless if we're late. Zhong Pingliang said. Let's sing a song, let's work harder. Sing? Okay. What song? Gao Xiaofu asked. Weibo, sing with me 1 2 3 ready. Ready. Calabash Brothers. Calabash Brothers. Zhong Pingliang sang loudly. And so, they started singing in the washroom, and the two were full of energy. Lin Yi's energy and the medicine clashed, and under the pain, white steam came out of his forehead. It was so hot that Lin Yi was smoking. Yao Yao, it's bad, Shield Bro's on fire. Yushu saw the white steam coming out of Lin Yi's forehead and screamed. Ah. Then, what should we do? Meng Yao was also shocked. Should we turn the air conditioner to the max? Yushu quickly found the remote control and turned the air conditioner to the max. But even with the air conditioner turned on, the steam on Lin Yi's forehead didn't decrease at all. It was still coming out of his forehead. Why don't we find 2 fans and fan him? It'll cool him down a little? Yushu said after seeing that the air conditioner wasn't working. Okay. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was in a desperate situation. There were plantain fans in the hotel room, and she and Yushu each took a fan and started fanning Lin Yi's left and right sides. He saw what Meng Yao and Yushu were doing, but it didn't have much effect. However, Lin Yi didn't have the energy to talk anymore. He was gritting his teeth and using his qi to neutralize the medicine in his heart. Energy gathered around Lin Yi's body, rushing into his body at an unbelievable speed. However, as it fought against the effects of the drug, the energy dissipated into nothingness. This speed of energy absorption made Lin Yi speechless. Even when he broke through, he didn't need this much energy, did he? But neutralizing this medicine did require this much energy. It was unbelievable to Lin Yi, but at the same time he was shocked. Where did this Zhong Pingliang get such a strong medicine? Did Zhang Naipeo give it to him? Now that he thought about it, it wasn't impossible. Elder Jiao, this medicine is too strong. I can't take it anymore. Lin Yi said bitterly as he absorbed the energy, trying to dissolve the medicine in his body. Oh, then you do it. Jiao Lao said. Do it. How do I do it? Lin Yi asked. 5 against 1. Jiao Lao said. This medicine looks strong, but since your qi can neutralize it, it means that you don't need to have sex with someone to neutralize it. You can do it with your hands, but judging from how strong the medicine is, it'll take at least an hour or 2. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Running to the washroom to take a 2-hour flight? What kind of joke was that? It'd be fine if Meng Yao and Yushu weren't here, but they were here. He'd be a laughingstock if he went. What else? Lin Yi asked helplessly. Then you'll have to continue neutralizing it. Jiao Yazi said. With your current strength and the endless energy in the jade space, you can neutralize it, but it'll take some time. As long as I can neutralize it. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and decided to continue neutralizing it. An hour later, Pin Liang and Xiaofu finally solved the problem. Both of them were so tired that they almost collapsed from exhaustion. Currently, both of them couldn't even lift their arms. Chapter 1599. Chapter 1598. Watching a good show. Liang bro, what kind of medicine is this? Why is it so strong? If only I could be as brave as today. Xiaofu said. 7 asterisk. Who knows? I'm so tired today. My kidneys aren't good to begin with. This is a trap. Pin Liang said helplessly. That Lin Yi sure is cunning. He made us drink too. But we have to go check on Lin Yi's side right now. We don't know if he succeeded. Okay. Xiaofu put the camera on his back, but the weight of the camera almost collapsed his shoulder. The two quickly left the room. It was almost 9 at night. Pin Liang's heart was filled with regret. If they went now, Lin Yi might have already succeeded. Without Meng Yao's resistance, it would be meaningless. At that thought, Pin Liang's evil thoughts rose. He walked into the lobby of the resort and saw that most of his classmates had rested and were waiting for Pin Liang and Xiaofu in the lobby. Sorry for the wait. Now I'll treat you all to a good show, Pin Liang said to the students in the lobby. Everyone come with me. Pin Liang was going to call everyone to see Lin Yi. Even if Lin Yi succeeded after some hesitation, wouldn't it be embarrassing to be seen by everyone? Plus, Meng Yao wouldn't be able to face the world anymore. However, Pin Liang thought to himself, If he couldn't get what he couldn't get, then no one else could. If he couldn't get Meng Yao, then he'd destroy her reputation. The students didn't know what kind of show Pinliang was going to treat them to, but they didn't think much about it. They all followed Pinliang to Lin Yi's room. As far as they were concerned, Pinliang was the one who arranged this event. Naturally, they would listen to him. When they reached Lin Yi's room, Pinliang couldn't wait any longer. He slammed into Lin Yi's door. Time was of the essence, and he did not want to waste a single second. With a bang, Lin Yi's door flew open, but it wasn't as hard as Pinliang had imagined. Lin Yi's door wasn't locked at all. Lin Yi went back to his room to train against the poison, and Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, were busy helping Lin Yi dissipate the heat. Neither of them cared if the door was locked or not. Holy Church, and so tragically, Zhong Pingliang fell headfirst into the room, falling flat on his face due to inertia. Everyone please look. Xiaofu didn't have time to worry about Pinliang. He was afraid that Lin Yi would come up with a countermeasure, so he quickly asked the students to look into the room. Hence, the scene in the room appeared before everyone's eyes. Meng Yao and Yushu, one on the left and one on the right, were fanning Lin Yi. What is this? A student asked curiously after taking a look. Is there something wrong with you? You want us to look at this? Xiaobo had tagged along as well, and was the first to object. Xiaofu was an idiot, wasn't he? Lin Yi was clearly enjoying the fanning of two beauties, and Pinliang was interrupting him. Yeah, what's there to see? Although the students were a little envious of Lin Yi, they didn't think that it was a drama. Wasn't it just fanning? What was there to see? Xiaofu was dumbfounded as well. What was going on? Wasn't Lin Yi supposed to push Meng Yao and Yushu down? Why were the three of them fanning themselves, all neatly dressed? Pinliang got up from the ground, confused as well. No way. Lin Yi was fine. He looked around the room suspiciously, but it didn't seem like anything had happened. Plus, he was sure that if Lin Yi really had something going on with Meng Yao and Yushu, it wouldn't have ended so quickly. He even had his clothes on, and was fanning himself. After all, he and Xiaofu used their hands for a long time. How could Lin Yi be so fast? Ugh. Actually, I wanted to show everyone what a plantain fan is. This plantain fan is the specialty of this resort. Xiaofu said. I just wanted to show everyone how to use this plantain fan. Back then, Flaming Mountain was destroyed with this fan. Boring. Boring. The students didn't say much since this event was sponsored by Pinliang, but they still turned around and left without any interest. Are you too crazy? Shield Bro is sleeping, he's resting. Why are you guys making a ruckus? Looking at the plantain fan. Is your mom the Iron Fan Princess? Yushu knew what was going on when she saw Pinliang and Xiaofu rush in. They were the ones who gave Lin Yi the aphrodisiac, so they came here to catch them in the act. Fortunately, Lin Yi was strong enough to neutralize the drug's effects. Otherwise, he would have been seen naked by these people. Ugh, I see. Then we won't disturb you anymore. We'll be leaving first. Sorry, we just wanted to look at the plantain fan. Xiaofu knew that Yushu wasn't someone to be messed with, and Lin Yi was fine. If Lin Yi went crazy, he and Pinliang would be in trouble. Lin Yi even dared to beat up Zhang Naipeo. The two had no choice but to turn around and leave with their tails between their legs. Lin Yi kept his eyes closed and didn't say a word. Everyone thought that Lin Yi was asleep. But in fact, Lin Yi wasn't asleep. He was fighting against the drug. Although Lin Yi heard Pinliang and Naipeo's voices, he ignored them. The drug in his body was getting lesser and lesser, which made Lin Yi heave a sigh of relief. It seemed that his hard work wasn't in vain, and there were still results. Finally, as time passed, the drug in Lin Yi's body was getting lesser and lesser. Even if Lin Yi didn't use his qi to refine it, he could still resist it. But Lin Yi still decided to refine it all. After all, this aphrodisiac was different from normal. Who knew if there would be any side effects? Thus, Lin Yi continued to use his energy to refine the drug in his body. And finally, the drug was completely refined by Lin Yi. Phew! Just as Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief, the next moment, something unbelievable happened. The drug was refined, but the thing that refined the drug was the energy of the jade pendant space. After the drug was refined, it became the qi in Lin Yi's body. Before there was the drug, but Lin Yi didn't notice it. But now that the drug was gone, the extra qi was a little obvious. Moreover, the qi formed by the drug wasn't just a little bit. Lin Yi felt like his meridians were about to explode. He was focused on refining the drug before, so he didn't notice this, but now it was too late. Chapter 1600. Breakthrough. Mystic Queen Peak. Lin Yi felt as if his body was about to explode with a boom. However, Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised after the momentary shock. He was too familiar with this feeling. It was the feeling of breaking through. Lin Yi felt the same every time he broke through, and it was the same this time as well. Lin Yi didn't think that refining the aphrodisiac in his body could help him break through. It was unbelievable. But Lin Yi thought about what happened to Lingshan, and he didn't think it was weird anymore. Perhaps Lingshan's breakthrough was because of this? In fact, Lingshan's breakthrough was completely different from Lin Yi's. Lingshan had been suppressing herself at that level for a long time, and suddenly, she was stimulated mentally and psychologically. And with the special nature of House Song's arts, she broke through. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was using his energy to refine the medicine, and because there was too much medicine in his body, Lin Yi had to keep refining it, and the qi formed after refining was gathered in Lin Yi's body. Because the aphrodisiac was already in Lin Yi's body, so the qi that was refined was also in Lin Yi's body. This was different from Lin Yi directly absorbing the energy. Directly absorbing it, after a certain amount, it couldn't be absorbed anymore. Using the medicine to refine it, although the body couldn't absorb qi anymore, the qi that was refined in his body couldn't be exited. This was also why Lin Yi broke through, becoming a mystic late-phase peak. Fortunately, Lin Yi was different from Yutian and Lingshan. Lin Yi was training in the jade space, and he didn't have to worry about his clothes exploding and being seen by Mingyao and Yushu. Pinliang, you and your men really are my lucky stars, helping me break through 2 levels in a row. Should I thank you? Or should I hate you? Lin Yi muttered to himself, shaking his head with a bitter smile. Pinliang wanted to harm him, but he ended up helping him instead. Lin Yi was just worrying about not being able to break through. But he broke through just like that. Jiao Lao, I broke through just like that? Lin Yi asked with a bitter smile. Templar LVS. Yes, I broke through. Haven't you always wanted to break through? Didn't you get what you wanted? Jiao Yazi smiled lightly. But what is this? Will I be able to use this method to break through in the future? This was the question that Lin Yi was most concerned about. Lin Yi roughly understood the principle of breakthrough, so Lin Yi was thinking whether he could use the same method to break through in the future. Every time you make a breakthrough, it's unimaginable. Jiao Yazi didn't know what to say. I've never heard of many of your breakthrough methods. Who knows if you can do it again next time? In other words, it's possible to try? Lin Yi asked in surprise. Holy Church, I didn't say that. Jiao Yazi shook his head. As far as I know, Mystic to Earth class is a hurdle. Some people can't cross this hurdle their entire lives, stuck at the peak late phase of Mystic class. So if the breakthrough method is the same, then I'm afraid that all practitioners can easily break through this hurdle. The way to break through from Mystic to Earth class is different. Oh, Lin Yi frowned. So you're saying that it's not easy to break through from Mystic to Earth class? Yes. Jiao Yazi nodded. Look at the hidden houses. There are a lot of people at the peak late phase of Mystic class, but there aren't many Earth class masters. Some people have been stuck at the peak late phase of Mystic class for many years. If they could break through using normal methods, why would they still be stuck there? Ugh, isn't it hard to break through from Earth class to Sky class? Why is it so hard to break through from Mystic class to Earth class? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It's even harder, Jiao Yazi said. From Earth class to Sky class, not many people have been able to do it since ancient times. Sky class is still very far away. I wonder how I can reach Earth class right now. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. From the looks of it, this cultivation method of consuming pills and refining himself wasn't going to work anymore. How would I know? Jiao Yazi rolled his eyes. I can't understand any of your breakthrough methods. You should go and create your own. Lin Yi had no choice but to come back to reality from the jade space. Although he couldn't find a way to break through to mystic class for now, Lin Yi was very satisfied with his progress. If he worked hard, it should be possible for him to break through to earth class before the meeting of the noble houses. Shield bro, are you alright? Yushu was surprised and happy to see Lin Yi open his eyes. And I'm fine. Thank you guys. Lin Yi stood up and smiled. It's fine. This is what we should do. You've protected us for so long. It's time for us to do something for you. Yushu said. Even if we have to sacrifice ourselves, it's fine. Shoo. Mingyao scolded Yushu. Yushu was talking nonsense again. Ha! Lin Yi smiled. Let's go. Didn't Pinliang say that we'll meet at 9? Let's go and see if there's anything fun. Shield bro, are you going to teach them a lesson? Yushu felt that Lin Yi was drugged. Teach them a lesson? Why teach them a lesson? Lin Yi smiled. I can't wait to thank them. Thank them? Yushu and Mingyao froze. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be able to break through. I'm already at the peak of late phase of mystic class. Lin Yi smiled. So why would I teach them a lesson? Waha, are you serious? Shield bro, you're so strong. Yushu's eyes widened. You can break through like that. If we take the aphrodisiac every day, wouldn't we become sky class masters in no time? Lin Yi almost fainted. He smiled bitterly. It's just a coincidence. If I take the aphrodisiac every day, I don't know what's going to happen. That's right. Shoo, don't come up with random ideas. Mingyao thought that it was impossible as well. If they could really break through by taking drugs, wouldn't there be masters everywhere? The three walked to the resort's lobby as they conversed. Pinliang, Xiaofu, and the other students had already returned to the lobby and were talking to each other. Pinliang and Xiaofu, on the other hand, saw Lin Yi, Mingyao, and Yushu walking over. Fear flashed across their eyes. If Lin Yi knew that they were behind this, would he do something to them? Isn't this Lin Yi? I'm just waiting for you. Pinliang sighed, putting on a smile as he walked over. We were all here just now. You guys were the only ones left. I was just thinking about looking for you. But you were sleeping. Pinliang came up with an excuse, saying that they had a group activity tonight, and Lin Yi was absent, so they went looking for him. Chapter 1601. Oh, didn't you guys go to see the plantain fan? Lin Yi sneered as he asked indifferently. Haha, that's just a joke. Zhong Pingliang laughed. Lin Yi, since you're here, let's start the next step of the activity? Sure. Lin Yi said indifferently. But I don't know, can you still move your arm? It seems like you're feeling a little weak. Do you need me to help you treat it? You have to know, I'm a doctor too. I drank too much just now and my body was burning up. So I gave myself acupuncture and slept for a while. I'm fine now. Lin Yi didn't have the intention to punish Zhong Pingliang right now. After all, if he beat Zhong Pingliang up in front of so many classmates, the reunion wouldn't be able to continue. Pinliang, on the other hand, was harming Lin Yi, but benefiting him instead. This way, the hatred in Lin Yi's heart towards Zhong Pingliang lessened. A few mocking words were fine. Lin Yi really didn't put a small character like Zhong Pingliang in his eyes now. His subordinate, Zhang Naipeo, was Lin Yi's true rival. Zhong Pingliang heard Lin Yi's words and his face turned pale. Lin Yi's words were very clear. He knew that he was drugged, but he used acupuncture to solve it. And he also hinted that his arm was weak, so he must have guessed what he did before. This made Zhong Pingliang speechless. I don't need treatment, right? I have rheumatism, it's an old problem. Zhong Pingliang said awkwardly. Oh, Lin Yi smiled weirdly. I was the one who asked the girls here to go home on holiday. The conversation between Lin Yi and Zhong Pingliang seemed to be incoherent. But both of them knew what they were talking about. Zhong Pingliang heard Lin Yi's words. Only then did he understand why he couldn't find the girls before. So it was Lin Yi's doing. Pinliang suddenly remembered that Tiandi Resort was Zhou Tiandi's property, and that Zhou Ruoming was behaving like a grandson in front of Lin Yi. He immediately understood what was going on. Lin Yi had deliberately set him and Gao Xiaofu up. However, even so, he couldn't say a word of grievance. He could only swallow his grievances. Wasn't all of this caused by himself? Fortunately, nothing happened between Mingyao and Lin Yi. He didn't see anything unusual in the room, and Meng Yao's gait was normal when she walked in, so he couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. However, Lin Yi admitted that he didn't do anything with Meng Yao, which made Pin Liang feel relieved. Although he was jealous that Meng Yao couldn't be his girlfriend, he didn't want the goddess in his heart to be tainted by others unless he had no other choice. Since he couldn't mess with Lin Yi, he would just have to think of a way to get intimate with Meng Yao. Pin Liang, on the other hand, didn't expect Meng Yao to like him. He understood now that Meng Yao and Yushu had never liked him. Therefore, it was Pin Liang's dream to take advantage of Meng Yao. Since Lin Yi couldn't take advantage of Meng Yao, Pin Liang didn't mind taking advantage of her. Lin Yi's tolerance from before made Pin Liang even more courageous. From what he could see, the reason why Lin Yi didn't attack him was probably because of Naipeo. Naipeo's meridians were all destroyed. However, the second level of the Chrysanthemum Treasured Codex had been unlocked. This was great news. Presumably, Lin Yi had also received this news. That was why Lin Yi did not retaliate even after he was drugged with an aphrodisiac. All he did was make a few sarcastic remarks. "So you did it." Pin Liang thought about it and started acting cocky again. "But it's nothing, I'll just treat it as training. Don't you feel good about it?" "Oh right, I really have to thank you." Lin Yi smiled. "Your follower Zhang Naipeo helped me break through to Mystic Late Phase. And the aphrodisiac you gave me helped me break through to Mystic Late Phase Peak. You guys are really my lucky stars." Pin Liang paused. He didn't expect Lin Yi to break through again and become a Mystic Late Phase Peak. And it was all because of him. Pin Liang regretted it a little. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have set him up. But on the surface, Pin Liang didn't back down. "Right, Pao told me to tell you. Thank you for crippling his arts and blowing up his meridians. The chrysanthemum arts he practices is something that can't be rebuilt without destruction. If he didn't become a cripple, he wouldn't be able to practice the second stage of the arts." "Is that so?" Lin Yi's heart was in turmoil. He thought that Naipeo was crippled, and even if he recovered, it wouldn't be this easy. He didn't think that he'd unintentionally helped him. What was this? Helping each other? They were even. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh at the thought. Naipeo and Pin Liang had helped him break through 2 levels, and he had helped Naipeo unlock the second stage of his arts. Looking at it like that, no one had the upper hand. Of course, Lin Yi had broken through 2 levels, so he had the upper hand. Pin Liang saw the slight change in Lin Yi's face, and he was very pleased with himself. It seemed like he'd won a round, and it seemed like Lin Yi was still quite afraid of Naipeo. What he didn't know was that Lin Yi was looking at Naipeo in a different light, but he wasn't afraid of him at all. As for Pin Liang, Lin Yi didn't need to cause him any trouble at all. Lin Yi understood now that Naipeo seemed to be living to avenge Pin Liang. If he did anything to Pin Liang now, the kid might really bring the elders of the Everyday and Everyday sect over to fight him. In these troubled times, Lin Yi had a lot of enemies, and he didn't have the power to go against the Everyday and Everyday sect. Letting Pin Liang go for now wasn't a compromise, but a smart move. Pin Liang laughed and ignored Lin Yi. He was ready to activate his second plan. Pin Liang glanced at Xiaofu, indicating that he could speak now. "Everyone's full now, and it's a long night without sleep. I suggest that we play a game together. I wonder if everyone supports this idea." Xiaofu represented Zhong Pingliang, and the suggestion to play a game was also Zhong Pingliang's idea. "All right, let's play a game then." Xiaofu's suggestion got everyone's approval. After all, they couldn't just sit in the lobby of the resort and chat, could they? What was the point of gathering like that? They might as well chat in the group chat. Chapter 1602. Alright, since everyone agrees, then I'll talk about the rules and how to play the game. Gao Xiaofu nodded and said, "Currently we have graduated from high school and are heading to university. We are all adults, but many of our classmates have not tasted the taste of love. So for the sake of our future love, the game we are playing today is called Safe Kiss." Safe Kiss. Some students knew about this game and immediately cheered excitedly. Yes, it's Safe Kiss. I believe everyone has seen similar games in novels and TV dramas. Some variety shows often have such games too, Gao Xiaofu explained. It's two people kissing through a layer of plastic wrap or glass. This way, everyone can experience the exciting feeling of love without losing out to each other. What do you think? Okay. The boys were the first to agree. In fact, most of the boys had a goddess in their hearts. It was just that because of the college entrance examination, they didn't confess and didn't develop. But now that they had graduated, they didn't have to be so nervous about their studies anymore. Everyone's minds were more active. If they could kiss their favorite goddess, it would be a very refreshing thing. However, the girls were a little shy. After all, most girls were still very conservative. This kind of safe kiss game was really a little too bold. Gao Xiaofu naturally saw all of this, so he began to make a fuss again. This kind of safe kiss is often seen on variety shows on TV. Those celebrities even play with their fans. Look at that pure jade girl celebrity. What's her name? Didn't she play safe kiss with her fans before? This safe kiss is called safe kiss because it's very safe. It won't let anyone lose out to each other. Moreover, everyone drew lots to decide who would be the winner. It's absolutely fair and just. It had to be said that Gao Xiaofu was very good at making a fuss. Moreover, everyone had more or less drunk a little. They were a little hot-headed. The girls also thought about it. Yes, it's just kissing through glass or plastic wrap. They won't lose out to each other. However, there were still some girls who were hesitant. This was because they already had some ambiguous feelings with some of the boys in their class. Although they didn't make their relationship clear, they had some feelings for each other. At this time, if he played a safe kiss with someone else, although it wasn't a big deal, it wouldn't be fun if the other party got jealous. Upon hearing the whispers of the people below, Gao Xiaofu was quick-witted and quickly said, "Write the girls' names as tags and let the boys draw lots. Between the boys who drew lots, they can also choose to exchange. If they are a couple, they can't steal each other's love, right?" Gao Xiaofu's words dispelled the last of the girls' doubts. If they could be swapped, then things would be much easier. Although the couple in the class didn't make it clear, everyone knew what was going on. No one would interfere. Wouldn't that make everyone uncomfortable? Moreover, both boys and girls are welcome. Therefore, under Gao Xiaofu's persuasion, most of the students agreed. Meng Yao, on the other hand, frowned. What kind of ridiculous game is this? I don't want to play. Shoo, let's not participate. Don't Yao Yao. What if Shield Bro draws us? Yushu didn't want to give up this chance to have fun. Meng Yao wanted to reject it, but after hearing Yushu's words, she didn't know why, but she didn't want to reject it anymore. She hesitated, but didn't say anything against it. Pin Liang and Xiaofu started making paper slips, preparing to let everyone draw lots. When you're making Meng Yao's tag later, make a slip with a corner missing. That way, I'll be able to draw it. Pin Liang still hadn't given up on Meng Yao. He saw that Lin Yi wasn't able to take advantage of him, and now he was getting excited. He'd been holding it in for too long, and now he was ready to explode. Through his conversation with Lin Yi, it seemed like Lin Yi was quite wary of Zhang Naipeo's rebirth, and so he grew bolder. Plus, this was a group activity, and he was following the rules. Even if Lin Yi wasn't happy about it, he wouldn't do anything to him. If he did, people would think that he was a sore loser. Lin Yi was only one step away from Earth class, and his eyes and ears were sharper than before. Pin Liang had lowered his voice, but Lin Yi heard him clearly. This was the advantage of a practitioner, and it was also why a sky class like Bingtang could stand on top of a snowy mountain and control the whole situation. There were only 30 or so people here, and there were only a dozen or so girls, so it didn't take long for the lots to be drawn. Xiaofu placed the lot in a box and whispered to Pin Liang, "Liang bro, I put Meng Yao's tag on the corner of the box, and didn't tear off a corner. It'd be too obvious." "And not bad, you're quite smart." Pin Liang nodded approvingly. This way, no one would suspect anything, and normal people wouldn't be able to get Meng Yao's tag, who would feel around the corners of a box. However, this sentence was heard clearly by Lin Yi, who wasn't far away. "Now let's draw lots. We have fewer boys and more girls, so there must be some girls who didn't get picked. But it's okay. Those who didn't get picked, you can choose who you want to play with." Of course, you can also forfeit, Xiaofu said. Now let's draw lots. The boys were eager to try, and as soon as Xiaofu finished speaking, they ran over excitedly to draw lots. Some of the boys with girls they liked started praying in their hearts, hoping to get the girl they liked. The girls, on the other hand, were thinking about their Prince Charming. While they were drawing lots, Pinliang took out the plastic wrap he had prepared beforehand and distributed it to the girls one by one. It was made very specially. The frame was square, and there was a fixed handle at the bottom. The plastic wrap was placed on the frame, forming a barrier. When using it, the girl only needed to hold this thing in front of her mouth. They didn't have to worry about being taken advantage of. Mengyao and Yushu got one each. Mengyao wasn't interested, but Yushu was curious about the structure of the thing, trying to see if she could break it. Linyi wasn't very interested in games like this, but in order to prevent Mengyao and Yushu from being taken advantage of, Linyi had to do it himself. Chapter 1603. See for yourself, boss. Are you confident? Kong Xiaobo had a girlfriend and wasn't very interested in this game. What confidence? Mengyao and Yushu? Linyi asked. Yeah, I secretly checked for you before. Yushu's tag is shorter than normal. It's the last one, and there's no cover left. We'll be able to tell if we compare it. But Mengyao's tag is no different, Kong Xiaobo said quietly. Not bad, kid. You know how to be a spy now. Linyi smiled. How about this? You can take out Shu's tag later. Is that okay? Ah, no way. I wouldn't dare. Kong Xiaobo shook his head. Shu would definitely be Lin Yi's woman in the future, and Kong Xiaobo's sister-in-law. Even if she wasn't, he had a girlfriend already. Wouldn't Xiaofan be furious if she knew? So naturally, Kong Xiaobo rejected Lin Yi's suggestion. Haha, can't I pick someone else? Why don't you just appoint me then? Lin Yi smiled. That's true. Kong Xiaobo's eyes lit up. Alright, boss, leave it to me. I'll definitely complete the mission. The boys who had drawn their lots were all hiding and cautiously running to the side to look at their lots. Those who had drawn their favorite goddess were naturally beaming with joy. However, those who didn't draw their favorite goddess were naturally frowning at this moment, thinking about who to swap with. The unluckiest ones were those who didn't have a goddess they liked, but they just had to draw the tag of a girl they didn't like. It was really frustrating. Of course, there were also those who drew the ugly girl's tag. Holy Hall, when it was Lin Yi's turn, Lin Yi put his hand into the box and found a tag in the corner according to Gao Xiaofu's instructions. Lin Yi squeezed it in his hand and put another tag in the box. After Lin Yi, it was Kong Xiaobo's turn. Kong Xiaobo searched the box for a long time and finally found the missing tag. Luckily, both of them drew it early. If someone else drew it, Lin Yi would have to take it by force. But then again, even if Yushu's tag fell into someone else's hands, no one would dare to not return it to Lin Yi. They were afraid of Yushu, but they were also afraid of Lin Yi. Boss, mission completed, Kong Xiaobo said to Lin Yi happily. Not bad. Lin Yi nodded and walked towards Mengyao and Yushu. How was it, shield bro? Did you draw Shu? Yushu asked impatiently. Holy Hall. Lin Yi smiled and passed the tag to Yushu. Yushu saw Lin Yi's movements, thinking that she was the one he drew. She was very happy, but when she saw the name on the tag, she was disappointed, but still happy. Yao Yao, it's you. Is that so? Mengyao felt an inexplicable surge of excitement in her heart, but on the surface, she kept her cool. It's all right. At least it's better than a stranger. Huh? Lin Yi smiled and didn't reply. Yushu, on the other hand, looked around and wanted to see who drew her tag. She was going to ask that person to choose Lin Yi. Otherwise, Yushu wouldn't let him have it easy. Let someone else kiss him? What a joke. What are you looking for? Lin Yi asked, amused. I'm looking to see who drew my tag, Yushu said. Yours is with Kong Xiaobo. Lin Yi smiled. Ah, Yushu blinked, understanding what Lin Yi meant. She smiled happily. Okay, so he'll pick you, right? Probably. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Oh, Yushu was happy. I've tried kissing shield bro, but I've never tried a safe kiss like this before. Yushu's words made Lin Yi sweat. Kissing directly? That was mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, alright? In order to show their fairness, Pinliang and Xiaofu were the last two to draw. And Pinliang's tag was the one that Lin Yi put in the corner of the box. Ah! Xiaofu's face turned bitter as he looked at the tag in his hand. The one he drew was the second ugliest girl in the class reunion, Zhen Ruhua. Not only was her face fat, but she was also extremely short, even prettier than Ruhua in the movies. Liang bro, what do I do? Why am I so unlucky? Xiaofu looked at the tag in his hand and wanted to cry. Ha ha ha. Pinliang couldn't help but laugh when he saw Xiaofu's tag. You're too smart for your own good. You prepared a tag for me. Why didn't you prepare one for yourself? Are you happy now? It wasn't that Xiaofu didn't want to prepare one. He wanted to sneak a tag in his hand and pretend to draw it. But it was summer, and everyone was wearing short sleeves. He couldn't hide the tag in his hand. He wasn't a magician, so he had to draw it himself. The reason why he made Yushu's tag shorter was because he wanted to draw it himself and give it to Lin Yi. Xiaofu didn't have a girl he liked in the class, and he was just playing along with Pinliang. It didn't matter if he played or not. But now he had drawn Zhen Ruhua. No matter who he chose, no one could accept it. He had no choice but to do it himself. On the other side, Pinliang was laughing at Xiaofu as he held up his tag. His eyes widened in shock when he saw what it was. The name on the tag in his hand wasn't Meng Yao, but the ugliest girl in the class, Mei Ruxian. She was as beautiful as a goddess. Not only was her face full of holes, her eyes and mouth were crooked, and she had a mouth full of yellow teeth. Her breath could be smelled from 10 feet away. Pinliang almost fainted when he thought about how he played the safe kiss with someone like this. Liang bro, what's wrong? Xiaofu paused. He didn't know what was wrong with Pinliang. Xiaofu, Liang bro's tag is for you to complete later. You have to complete it. Pinliang passed the tag to Xiaofu and patted him on the shoulder, his tone serious. Huh. Xiaofu paused. Liang bro, aren't you going to kiss Meng Yao? See for yourself, Pinliang said. Xiaofu opened the tag Pinliang gave him, a little confused. Chapter 1604. Chapter 1603. Missed thoughts, but when Xiaofu saw it, his eyes rolled back, and he almost fainted. Seriously? God earth, one Zhen Ruhua was enough to choke him. And now there was another Mei Ruxian? Liang bro. This. Xiaofu was dumbfounded. Sanctuary. I pulled myself out from between the cracks. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Pinliang glared at him. You're reaping what you sow. I can't. I confirmed it a few times. Xiaofu was confused as well. You're the one who made it, so you should bear the consequences yourself. Pinliang said. Xiaofu frowned, but there was nothing he could do. After a few discussions and exchanges between the boys and girls, everyone had found their favorite game partners. Those who were already in love with each other had also found suitable partners. As for those who didn't have anyone they liked, after this matchmaking session, they had a good impression of each other. Perhaps after this game, they would be able to help a lot of couples get together. This meant that Pinliang and Xiaofu had done a great thing. Everyone performed kisses one by one, and although some of them had feelings for each other, they couldn't do anything under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Plus, they hadn't made their relationship clear before. So after a few kisses, they shyly separated. Sanctuary. When it was Lin Yi and Yushu's turn, Yushu happily raised the plastic wrap and closed her eyes. She whispered to Lin Yi, Shield bro, you have to be gentle with Shu, okay? This is Shu's first kiss. Lin Yi was speechless. Didn't they say that they'd already had their first kiss? How did it become their first kiss? Was it their first safe kiss? If you had to put it that way, then it was similar. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't kiss Yushu. He only pecked her forehead lightly. Alright, it's someone else's turn. Ha. That's it. Yushu was a little disappointed. She really wanted to try kissing him on the lips, but he only kissed her forehead. Hee, what else do you want? Lin Yi laughed and said, Yu Yunyan and Xiaoxiao's treatment is almost the same. Really? Yushu brightened up at Lin Yi's words. So you didn't kiss them either? Lin Yi didn't answer. and Yushu didn't pursue the matter. On the web it was Meng Yao's turn. She didn't know why, but her heart was in a mess. She looked at Lin Yi and Shu with anticipation, but also fear. Meng Yao was a conservative girl. Her first kiss, first love, and first night were all very important. This was also the reason why she had such a big reaction when she drank the drink that Lin Yi drank. But as she interacted with Lin Yi more, the ambiguous things between the two increased, especially the time when she was poisoned. Lin Yi detoxified her poison and saw her most embarrassing scene. So, Meng Yao didn't know how she felt about Lin Yi. Was it love? Or was it a habit? Meng Yao wasn't sure. Every time she thought about how she said that she didn't like Lin Yi, she would shrink back a little. She would rather believe that her reliance on Lin Yi was a kind of habitual familial love. She didn't have a mother's love since she was young, and her father was busy with work. Meng Yao didn't have much love. But when Lin Yi came to the villa, he took care of her, protected her, and let Meng Yao feel loved. So Meng Yao was more willing to believe that her feelings for Lin Yi were just attachment. As for love, how is that possible? How is that possible? Meng Yao knew that she couldn't be as bold as Shu. Lin Yi had a girlfriend already, calling himself a mistress? How embarrassing was that? As for Xiao Xiao, Meng Yao didn't think much about it. She just treated it as a dying person's wish. This was a special case, there was no comparison. The more she thought about it, the more hesitant she became. Seeing that it was her turn with Lin Yi, Meng Yao didn't know why, but she said to Shu, "Shu, I want you to play with Lin Yi. If you can choose a guy, you can choose a girl too." Naturally, no one said anything about Meng Yao's suggestion. After all, it had nothing to do with anyone else. It was fine as long as the person in question agreed. Oh okay. Yushu hadn't had enough yet, and Meng Yao's words made her very happy. "Shield bro, let's do it again. Don't go back on your words this time. We need to kiss a little longer." It ended so quickly, Shu didn't feel anything. The misreaction was within Lin Yi's expectations. The Miss was actually a very shy person. Giving Shu the role would save everyone from the awkwardness. Lin Yi could more or less confirm Shu's feelings towards him. So no matter how much he messed around with her, she wouldn't have any other thoughts. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was something he couldn't understand. Other than the battle with Tang Yin, the Miss had shown her determination. Other than that, he couldn't tell if the Miss had any other feelings for him other than being friends. As for the battle with Tang Yin, Lin Yi could only attribute it to the Miss being so angry that she didn't know what to say. In fact, at that time, she and Tang Yin both said some things that weren't true. Lin Yi and Yushu raised the plastic wrap again. This time, Yushu was smarter. She didn't wait for Lin Yi to kiss her stupidly. Instead, she took the initiative and kissed Lin Yi's lips through the plastic wrap. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. In fact, he could have avoided it, but he didn't. First, Lin Yi was afraid that Yushu would be sad. Second, it was because there was plastic wrap between them. So it shouldn't be considered a real kiss, right? When it came to kissing, Yushu was actually a newbie as well. She knew how it was, but she didn't know why. She only saw on TV that men and women kissed mouth to mouth. But she didn't know anything like a French kiss or a French kiss. So, the two stupidly pressed their lips together for a while and separated. Although Lin Yi didn't have similar experience, he knew a little more than Yushu. However, he didn't want to take advantage of Yushu. So he went along with Yushu and kissed her lips. It was considered a safe kiss. Yushu had achieved her goal. But she was still a little puzzled. The kiss wasn't as beautiful as it seemed. She was a little nervous and excited, but wasn't it like the movies? Wouldn't they get tired after kissing for so long? With this doubt, Yushu decided to go home and search for what was kissing on the internet. She wanted to see if she missed anything. Chapter 1605. In the end, the only one left was the unlucky Gao Xiaofu, the initiator of the event. He'd suffered the consequences of his own actions. He'd had a safe kiss with two girls in the class, Ugly Boss and Ugly Boss. After the kiss, Gao Xiaofu fainted on the ground, completely disgusted. The two beautiful girls, on the other hand, were still intoxicated. Gao Xiaofu, on the other hand, wasn't bad-looking. He could be considered a handsome guy, and he used to be a powerful figure in the class. Although he'd been stepped on by Lin Yi, he still had a place in the girls' hearts. This was especially true for a dinosaur like him. As a result, Gao Xiaofu fainted after being hugged and kissed by the two beauties. Gao Xiaofu's situation drew a round of laughter from the class. The game was just an appetizer. After the game was over, Pinliang wanted to bring everyone to the game room to play billiards, video games, bowling, etc. But now that Gao Xiaofu had fainted, he couldn't go anymore. He could only give everyone a ticket to the game room. Those who wanted to play could go on their own. Meng Yao's heart ached as she looked at Lin Yi and the blissful Yushu. Was this the happiness that belonged to her? She was starting to regret giving this chance to Yushu. Meng Yao rubbed her temples. Why was it that she always regretted things? Did she really regret it? Was it because she liked Lin Yi? Or was it something else? Meng Yao shook her head, trying her best not to think about it. It was irritating. At first, she'd been wary and hostile towards Lin Yi, but unknowingly she'd been influenced. There was a change in his mentality. Yao Yao, what are you thinking about? Yushu asked as she saw Meng Yao standing there in a daze. She didn't know what she was thinking about. Nothing, Shu. Meng Yao shook her head. Let's go. I'm a little tired. Let's go back and rest. Oh, so we're not going to the game room? Yushu was a little disappointed. It wasn't easy for them to come out and play. There was no point in going back to rest so early. Meng Yao could see Yushu's disappointment as well. Yushu had been studying in the villa all this time, and she hadn't had a chance to relax at all. Lin Yi was still practicing, and Meng Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yun didn't want to disturb Lin Yi. They knew that Lin Yi was about to do something important. Therefore, they did not go out to play. Therefore, with such a rare opportunity, it would be a pity if he didn't enjoy it to the fullest. Meng Yao, on the other hand, felt a little tired from the past 2 days. She'd been fanning Lin Yi, and she was sweating all over. She'd turned the air conditioner to the max, and she felt like she was about to catch a cold. But in order not to disappoint Shu, Meng Yao decided to accompany her. Thus he smiled and said, "Oh right, I forgot about that. Shall we go then?" Lin Yi could see Meng Yao's exhaustion, but he could also see the deep love she had for Yushu. Lin Yi could see how much she cared for Yushu. She looked like a big sister, and it was rare for them to have such a good relationship. They weren't real sisters, but they were closer than real sisters. Xiaobo wasn't interested in being a third wheel at all. He went back to his room to rest, feeling a little annoyed as well. Wherever he went, students would come up to him and flatter him. Xiaobo was starting to get bored. Lin Yi and the other two arrived at the activity room, on the top floor of the resort. The entire floor was the activity center, and there were many entertainment programs. Pinliang had wanted to book a private room for everyone to rest in, but he didn't because of Xiaofu. But there were many resting places in the activity center, and they weren't worried about not having enough space. There were many entertainment programs in the activity center, but there weren't many customers. It was empty as far as the eye could see, but that was to be expected. The activity center was only open to the guests of the resort, and it wasn't open to the public. How many customers could there be? Lin Yi and the other two found a place to sit down. Meng Yao was a little weak, so Lin Yi turned to Yushu. "What do you want to play? I'll bring you." "Okay." Yushu noticed Meng Yao's discomfort and didn't force her. "Yao Yao, you'll stay here and watch over us?" "Yeah." Meng Yao nodded. Most of the time, Meng Yao wished Shu well in her heart, hoping that she'd find a good partner. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a good choice based on his character and strength. But the problem was that Lin Yi already had a girlfriend, and not just one. Was there even a chance between him and Yushu? Even if Shu said she didn't care, did she really care? And that ridiculous promise with her, the first wife and the second wife. Meng Yao sometimes couldn't understand Yushu's true thoughts. Sometimes, she looked like an idiot, and liked to play dumb. But Meng Yao felt that Yushu wasn't playing dumb most of the time. Maybe what she said was true. She'd practically grown up with Yushu, and no one knew her better than Meng Yao. But even so, Meng Yao didn't understand her at all. This carefree girl, who could even be called a happy little girl, didn't seem to be happy. But in many situations, Even if they were like sisters, Mingyao wouldn't purposely ask Yushu if she didn't want to talk about it. No matter what, she was Yushu's Yao Yao, and she would treat her well for life. Mingyao sighed and laid on the table quietly, watching Lin Yi and Shu walk away. Lin Yi played a few rides with Yushu, but Yushu seemed a little dull, not as lively as before. It was probably because Mingyao couldn't come with them. Lin Yi found it funny. These two sisters were really close. Let's not play anymore, Shield Bro. Let's go back and accompany Yao Yao. Yushu said disinterestedly. Ha, okay. Lin Yi nodded and went to the drinks counter, bought 3 bottles of drinks, and walked towards Mingyao with Shu. But after 2 steps, Lin Yi's face darkened. Lin Yi saw a baldy with sunglasses sitting beside Mingyao's seat, talking to Mingyao non-stop. Beside the baldy were a couple of gangster-like young men, who obviously didn't look like good people. Chapter 1606. Another conflict, however. The baldy gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling. Had they met before? Shield Bro. Someone seems to be flirting with Yao Yao sis. Let's go beat him up. Yushu panicked when she saw that Mingyao was being flirted with. She picked up a bowling ball and said, 7 asterisk. Seeing Yushu's actions, Lin Yi suddenly felt pity for the baldy. His head was definitely not as hard as a bowling ball. But after 2 steps, Lin Yi's face darkened even more. Because Lin Yi really did know this baldy. What, you're not giving me face? I asked you to dance with me, but you didn't agree. Now you can't even have a drink with me? The baldy looked at Mingyao. His tone was very displeased. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't like to be rough with girls, he would have gotten someone to take Mingyao back. I don't have a drink, but there's a bowling ball. Yushu said as she swung the bowling ball at the back of the baldy's head. The baldy fell to the ground, blood flowing from the back of his head. Master Yu. The gangsters around Master Yu didn't expect that someone would come out of nowhere and attack Master Yu. They were all mystic class masters, and their strength wasn't low. It was just that they didn't put their attention on defense. They didn't expect someone to suddenly attack them. The reason why Lin Yi didn't stop Yushu was because he recognized the baldy's identity. He was Master Yu, the one who wanted to copy Xingyan's exam paper. So, Lin Yi wasn't worried that Yushu would beat the baldy to death. If he died, then so be it. Noble houses and hidden houses had their own ways to resolve their grudges. Fuck, you're asking for it. The yellow hair next to Master Yu turned around and wanted to beat Yushu. He didn't care if Yushu was a girl or not. How could he let her off if she dared to hit Master Yu with a bowling ball? However, Lin Yi had already pulled Yushu behind him. He looked at the yellow hair in front of him coldly. What, you want to play trapeze again? Quack. The yellow-haired man was stunned. When he saw Lin Yi clearly, his face suddenly became extremely ugly. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that these 2 chicks were related to Lin Yi. Previously, in the examination hall, he had suffered a loss at the hands of Lin Yi, and this time, suddenly, the yellow hair's eyes lit up. Although he couldn't beat Lin Yi, there was someone here who could beat Lin Yi. After the incident last time, young Master Yu specifically asked for a mystic late-phase peak physical practitioner to be his bodyguard. The purpose was to deal with Lin Yi. The blonde quickly yelled, Stick bro. This kid is a mystic late-phase spiritual practitioner. He's a troublesome opponent. You'll have to deal with him. It's him who made young Master Yu suffer a loss last time. Stick bro was just like his name, tall and thin like a stick. He didn't dye his hair like the yellow-haired man. His hair was gray and white. Obviously, even if he pretended to be young, he wouldn't be able to go to school with young Master Yu. Therefore, such a bodyguard could only follow young Master Yu outside. It was impossible to do so when he was in school. Holy Hallwin Stick Bro heard that Lin Yi was a mystic late-phase master. He was slightly surprised, but he didn't care too much. He was a famous mystic late-phase peak physical practitioner for a long time. In his opinion, Lin Yi was just a junior who didn't know how to break through. Even if he had strength, it probably wasn't stable. As for Lin Yi's background, young Master Yu went back to investigate for a long time, but he couldn't find anything. He was only a second young master, so he couldn't use all the resources of the Yu family. He could only ask around to see if there were other hidden families who looked like Lin Yi. But from the information he got back, there was no one who looked like Lin Yi, so young Master Yu was relieved. Since he wasn't from a hidden family, there was no problem. As for the ancient level, he really didn't think about it. Disciples of the ancient level generally didn't appear in the secular world. They didn't even bother to fight with ordinary masters like the hidden families. They only wanted to pursue the heaven class, hoping to achieve the heavenly Tao. Where would they have the time to take an exam? Young Master Yu was a cultivator after all. Although he didn't have much strength, he still had true qi to protect his body. He was injured by the bowling ball, but it wasn't too serious. After he got up and took a pill, the blood at the back of his head quickly stopped. "Stick, kill this kid for me." Young Master Yu caught his breath and glared at Lin Yi fiercely. Last time, he lost face in front of Lin Yi. This time, he didn't even get his face back and was hit by a bowling ball. If he didn't trample Lin Yi to death, how could he vent his anger? "Kid, I heard that you are a master in the late stage of mystic class?" Stick Bro looked at Lin Yi and asked faintly, "Which family's disciple are you from? Tell me your name." "What? Are you trying to test me? Do you want to see if House Yu has the ability to challenge the power behind me?" Lin Yi looked at Stick Bro mockingly and asked. Stick Bro was older, and he had become famous earlier. He had long passed the age of being young and frivolous, so he considered the problem more comprehensively. Although young Master Yu said that there was no Lin Yi in those families, he still wanted to ask about Lin Yi's background. You're just afraid that the flood will destroy the temple of the Dragon King. Our Yu family has never been afraid of anyone. Among the hidden families, even the hidden House Yu has to respect us. Stick Bro felt embarrassed when Lin Yi saw through his thoughts. "No matter who you are, you have to give me an explanation for today's matter. Either cripple your own martial arts, or follow me back to House Yu and wait for our master's punishment." I'm a solo cultivator with no family. Lin Yi smiled faintly. "Are you relieved now? But as for the two conditions you mentioned, I think we should do the opposite. Either you cripple your own martial arts, or I'll cripple you. Then you can go back and wait for your master to kick you out of the family." You have a sharp tongue." Stick Bro sneered and didn't say anything else. He suddenly raised his strength to the peak of the late stage of mystic class, and swung his palm towards Lin Yi. He had made up his mind that even if he wanted to capture Lin Yi, he would first cripple Lin Yi. Otherwise, young Master Yu's anger wouldn't be extinguished so easily. Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't dodge. He casually raised his right palm, and in an instant, the peak of the late stage of mystic class was revealed. In an instant, Stick Bro's face, which was originally proud and confident of victory, suddenly took a 180-degree turn. Previously, he thought that it wouldn't be easy for him to use his peak of the late stage of mystic class to fight Lin Yi, who was a spiritual master of the late stage of mystic class. Although there was a difference of one level between spiritual and physical, it depended on how you fought. Chapter 1607. Chapter 1606. New plan. Stick Bro focused all his strength on his palms. And if Lin Yi didn't defend with all his might, he would be crippled. Moreover, Stick Bro's arts were similar to Wu Qintian's. Both of them focused on their hands, high attack and low defense. From what he saw, Lin Yi would definitely be heavily injured, but he didn't expect that Lin Yi's strength would be mystic late phase peak. What the fuck, wasn't this a trap? If Stick Bro fought against a first stage spiritual practitioner, he would definitely win. But if he fought against a spiritual practitioner who was one stage higher, wouldn't he be looking for death? No matter how strong he was still one stage lower. It was all for naught. He didn't have the ability to fight above his level. This was the same logic as playing online games. Your level was there, and if you wanted to kill someone who was a higher level than you, it would be very difficult. Of course, there were exceptions, such as if your skills were stronger than others, or if your equipment was better than others. Network. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was one of those players who had good skills and good equipment in online games. And he even had the jade pendant. How could others play against him? And so, Stick Bro was sent flying by Lin Yi with a sad face, landing on the bowling alley 10 meters away. Coincidentally, someone threw a bowling ball at the head of the extremely weak Stick Bro, knocking him out cold. St. Hall Mystic Late Phase Peak. How is this possible? Yellow and purple hair looked at Lin Yi in shock, not knowing how he became a Mystic Late Phase Peak Master. You hid your strength before? What do you think? Lin Yi was too lazy to answer their questions. Let them think about it. Yellow and purple hair, on the other hand, thought that perhaps Lin Yi really did hide his strength from the start. If Lin Yi could hide it the first time, he could definitely hide it the second time. Then, what about the third time? Could it be that Lin Yi's true power wasn't even at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class? Yellow hair and purple hair were dumbstruck at this thought. But then again, it was Earth rank. Hidden aristocratic families were restrained by the Arbitration Association and couldn't casually appear in the secular world. Thus they were relieved. You better think twice before going against the Hidden Right family. The yellow-haired man had spoken harshly. He did not have the guts to stay here anymore. Even Brother Stick was no match for Lin Yi. What ability did they have to keep Lin Yi here? Therefore, he was convinced by young Master Yu and prepared to leave in a hurry. As for purple hair, he went to carry Brother Stick, and the few of them disappeared from the entertainment center. During this period, young Master Yu didn't say a word. His heart was filled with hatred, but he couldn't vent it. He was well aware of the difference in strength between a peak late phase mystic class spiritual master and a physical master. Especially since Stick Bro was injured, he was definitely not Lin Yi's opponent. Holy Ha Lin Yi didn't think too much about becoming enemies with the Hidden Right family. Since the hatred had been formed, there was no way to resolve it. He would just take it one step at a time. Yao Yao, are you okay? They didn't do anything to you, right? Lin Yi looked at the tired Ming Yao and asked. I'm fine. Thank you. But there won't be any trouble, right? The miss could tell that those people weren't simple, so she was just perfunctory and didn't get angry directly. What are you thanking me for? Haven't I always been your fighter? Lin Yi smiled. Aren't we friends now? Ming Yao asked. Lin Yi was slightly stunned and nodded. And we're friends, so there's no need to say thank you. Okay. Ming Yao seemed happy to hear Lin Yi say that. Because of young Master Yu and Stick Bro, the three of them who were already a little dispirited had no more thoughts of playing anymore. They left the activity room and went back to their rooms to rest. Lin Yi didn't really stay in the same room with Ming Yao and Yushu. It wasn't convenient, and people would gossip about him. Shu was fine, but Lin Yi was afraid of bringing gossip to the miss, so he went to Kong Xiaobo's room. Looking at Lin Yi leave, the miss was expressionless, and no one could tell if she was happy or sad. In the floating cloud bar, Yao Wang, Uncle Zhu, Boss Zhu, Qibing, and Sihua were sitting together, plotting something. Lin Yi went to the class reunion. If I'm not wrong, they'll definitely go hiking tomorrow. This is the activity that people who go to the resort choose the next morning, Sihua said. Sihua said. He was in the entertainment industry, after all, so he was very familiar with these things. Then let's do it tomorrow morning. Boss Zhu nodded, but he was a little worried as he looked at Yao Wang. Yao Wang, is what you said true? Ordinary poisonous snakes will become extremely poisonous after consuming this 5-step dispersing powder. But they won't be poisoned to death? I've studied medicine for so long, why would I lie to you? Yao Wang said. Plus, we're all Master Bing's people. This isn't just revenge for Zhu Lauer, it's also revenge for Master Bing. That's good. Boss Zhu nodded and said. People who are poisoned by this kind of poison will lose their true qi and have no antidote? I heard that Lin Yi is a miracle doctor too. What if he can cure it? Of course there's a cure, but Lin Yi may be a skilled doctor. But where would he find the cure in that small town? By the time he gets back to Songshan and finds the cure, his qi will be long gone, and he'll become a normal person. There's no point in curing it, Yao Wang said. Oh, this poison doesn't work on normal people? Boss Zhu asked. No, it'll only hurt a little, and the wound will swell for a few days. but it won't cause much damage. This is why normal snakes don't have any effects after consuming it, Yao explained. All right, I'll find a chance tomorrow to poison Lin Yi and turn him into a normal person. It'll be too easy for us to deal with him then. Boss Zhu nodded. Big brother. But that Lin Yi seems to be able to recover his strength, right? I heard that his meridians were all destroyed, but his meridians recovered, and he regained his strength. Uncle Zhu reminded. Meridians can be healed with the meridian opening pill. Once the meridians are healed, doesn't that mean that his strength will be restored? But this 5-step powder disperses all the qi in the body, turning a person into a normal person. It's different. Yao explained. Zhu Lao, aren't you an example? Uncle Zhu thought about it and felt that it was indeed the case. He immediately felt relieved. Then it's settled. Tomorrow, I'll think of a way to make the snake that ate the 5-step powder bite Lin Yi. Boss Zhu said fiercely. Once Lin Yi disperses his pure energy, he'll be a tiger without teeth. We can step on him however we want. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1608. A very important person although. The hidden house Zhao wanted them to keep a low profile and bear with it. Especially when old Zhao was in seclusion. Qibing and Boss Zhu couldn't take this lying down. Qibing's legs were healed by Elder Bai, and Uncle Zhu's life was saved by Elder Bai. But it wasn't realistic for Uncle Zhu to practice for the rest of his life. His meridians were all broken, and so were his limbs. He was now a cripple in a wheelchair. Seeing his brother, who had a bright future ahead of him, become a cripple just like that. How could Boss Zhu take this lying down? But with Elder Bai and Guangyin's warning, he didn't dare do anything rash. This time, Qibing couldn't take it anymore, and the two of them hit it off. They wanted to harm Lin Yi, but they couldn't fight him head-on, so Yao thought of a soft way. Holy Halwan had to admit that these people had some smart. It didn't look easy, but as long as they did it properly, Lin Yi would be completely crippled. It was worth the trouble. Hidden in the Tang family, in the training room of the Tang family patriarch, Old Master Tang, a disciple in his 20s was sitting on a chair, waiting for Old Master Tang to finish his training. Holy Hall, if Lin Yi were here, he'd be able to recognize this 20-something. He was one of the participants in the Ice Palace test, one of the unlucky bastards that Zhang Naipeo had robbed on the first day of the test. And so, he didn't pass the test, and returned to the hidden house with regret. Of course, it wasn't his fault. How could a hidden house compete with the ancient sects? Therefore, when this Tang family disciple told the clan elders about what had happened, no one blamed him. After all, this matter couldn't be blamed on him. Even his second uncle's family, who had always been at odds with him, didn't say anything. This Tang kid was called Tang Yui. He was the direct descendant of House Tang. And after reporting the situation to the elders, he rushed to see the old head of House Tang, Elder Tang. Because this matter could only be decided by Elder Tang. Tang Yui was a smart man. He knew the importance of this matter. He also knew that if this matter was true, it would have an immeasurable impact on the Tang family. So, Tang Yui did not tell anyone, not even his father, the current head of the Tang family. He hurriedly went to Grandfather Tang's room. However, Tang Yui was the direct descendant of the Tang family. Personally coming to see Grandfather Tang was not considered to be breaking the rules, so no one would say anything. 7 * after practicing a set of the Tang family's internal energy cultivation techniques, Grandfather Tang stopped and nodded towards Tang Yu, who was waiting on a chair. Yu, how was the training this time? Did you find anything? Tang Yu did not hide anything and respectfully told Grandfather Tang what he had said to his father and the great elder. Grandfather, that person is a disciple of the everyday sect. Grandson does not dare to fight with him. If we insist on fighting for a moment of pride, then not only will our grandson not be able to return, but it will also bring disaster to our hidden Tang family. So grandson can only give up on this opportunity. You did the right thing. The ancient sects and the hidden families are not on the same level. Tolerating them is the wisest choice. Elder Tang nodded his head and said, Our Tang family's inner force cultivation technique has always leaned towards the ice attribute. This time, we sent you to the Ice Palace because we wanted you to stay there and become an outer disciple. That way, you would be able to advance in that unique environment. But forget it. There are some things that cannot be done, so there is no need to force it. Grandson knows, so grandson did not want to give up on this opportunity. I stayed at the foot of the ice mountain and trained for a while before coming back. The spiritual energy there is thick, allowing grandson to break through the bottleneck. Right now grandson is a mystic mid-phase peak. Tang Yu said. What? You broke through? Haha, that's great. Grandfather Tang said happily. Not bad, not bad. At your age, you are already a mystic mid-phase peak. In time, it is not impossible for you to break through to sky class. You just came back and you're already here. Are you trying to take credit from me? Your father and the others don't know about this, do they? I'm sorry, grandfather. They really don't know. I didn't have the time to tell them. Tang Yu quickly apologized. I know that you always wanted to be the young master, but I didn't tell you. Now that you're back from the trial, are you thinking about it again? Grandfather Tang sighed. Grandfather, let's not talk about this for now. I came to see you in a hurry because of something else. Tang Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although he wanted to be the young master, he did come for something else. Oh, something else? Grandfather Tang paused. It's something very important. Tang Yu suddenly lowered his voice. Grandfather, should we go to the secret room? Although no one dared to eavesdrop outside of Grandfather Tang's training room, the sky class masters in the family were not to be trifled with. If they heard what Tang Yu said, it would cause a huge uproar. Without Grandfather Tang's approval, Tang Yu didn't dare to speak carelessly. Secret room. Grandfather Tang was even more confused. What is it that requires us to go to the secret room to discuss? It should be noted that the secret room would only be opened when it was related to the Tang family's development or the selection of the next family head. Under other circumstances, Grandfather Tang would never go to the secret room. I saw someone who could change the status of our Tang family. If my guess is correct, then the Tang family's meteoric rise is just around the corner. Tang Yi said. However, before this news is confirmed, I can only tell you, grandfather. Oh, saw someone? Someone who can change the Tang family? Grandfather Tang frowned. However, seeing how mysterious Tang Yi was, he thought for a moment and nodded his head. All right, come with me. After speaking, Grandfather Tang turned around and walked towards an ancient painting by the side of the bookshelf. He gently touched the mechanism on the ancient painting, and a creaking sound could be heard. The place where the bookshelf used to be was now a secret passageway. Although everyone in the Tang family knew about Grandfather Tang's secret room, the only person who was actually summoned into the secret room was Tang Yiyu's father, the current head of the hidden Tang family. Chapter 1609. Relatives. For Tang Yiyu to be able to enter this place, it could be considered a form of glory. Tang Yiyu carefully followed Grandfather Tang into the secret room. Soon after, the door to the secret room automatically closed with a clang, plunging the passage into darkness. Grandfather Tang casually pressed a button, and the lights in the secret passage lit up, illuminating the entire passageway. The interior of the passage was very simple, not as luxurious as Tang Yiyu had imagined. It was no different from a normal staircase. After descending 2 flights of stairs, Grandfather Tang and Tang Yiyu arrived at a small hall. In the small hall, there was only a simple meeting table and a few chairs. This was the so-called secret room. In Tang Yiyu's mind, the secret room was supposed to be a very luxurious and dignified place. He never expected it to be so ordinary, like a room that had never been renovated before. In reality, Grandfather Tang rarely used the secret room, so there was no need to decorate it too luxuriously. What, is it different from what I expected? Do you think this place is very shabby? Grandfather Tang looked at Tang Yiyu and smiled. Holy Church, I wouldn't dare. Tang Yiyu hurriedly said. A place to discuss matters naturally doesn't need to be luxurious. You're right. Take a seat, Yu. This time you can speak. What important matter do you have to tell me? Grandfather Tang sat on the main seat and gestured to Tang Yu. Grandfather, during the trial I saw someone. Speaking up to this point, Tang Yu hesitated, as if he didn't know what to say. You saw someone? Who? Grandfather Tang said. If you have something to say, then say it. Why are you hemming and hawing? Why did you come to this secret room? I'm the only one here. No one else can hear me. Grandfather, then grandson will speak boldly. Tang Yu gritted his teeth and said, during the trial I saw someone. She looked very similar to third aunt. Your third aunt? Xiaoming? Grandfather Tang furrowed his brows and said, looked like her? Who looked like her? Ice Palace. Palace Master. Tang Yu said, when I first saw her, I thought I saw third aunt. At that time, I was so scared that I couldn't speak, but because she was a peak late-stage heaven rank expert, I didn't dare to look too much. But in the trial, the more I thought about it, the more I felt that something was wrong. Later, when the trial ended, I took a closer look at the Ice Palace Master. She really looked like third madam, but I haven't seen third madam for many years, so I don't have a deep impression of her. But she should be similar to the third madam I saw when she was young. You mean the Palace Master of Ice Palace and your third auntie? Grandfather Tang was shocked by Tang Yu's words. He jumped up from his chair with a whoosh. With Elder Tang's composure, it was impossible for him to do something so crude. However, the news that Tang Yu brought him was too important. I suspect that the Palace Master of Ice Palace is the child that third madam lost. Tang Yu said, Grandfather, do you really think that there are people in this world who look so similar? Grandfather Tang's expression instantly became incomparably interesting. After a while he said, that's not possible. The Palace Master of the Ice Palace is in existence at the peak late-stage heaven rank. How could she and our Tang family? Grandfather, this is a photo that I secretly took with my phone. Please take a look. As he spoke, Tang Yu handed a phone to Grandfather Tang. This photo was taken that night in front of the inn. Rock Tang and Elder Qing naturally noticed his actions, but they had no need to stop him. After all, their images were not a secret, so it wasn't a big deal for the hidden families to know about it. 7 asterisk. Let me take a look. Although Grandfather Tang said that it was unlikely, his heart was in a state of shock. Deep down in his heart, he also hoped that what Tang Yu said was true. If that was the case, then the Tang family's meteoric rise was just around the corner. Grandfather Tang practically snatched the phone from Tang Yu's hands. After taking a look at the photo, he was instantly stunned. Too similar, really too similar. Grandfather Tang looked at the photo on the phone and mumbled to himself, she looks exactly like your third madam when she was young. Grandfather, you mean she? After hearing his grandfather's words, Tang Yu confirmed his suspicions. She is my half-sister from a different mother? If that's the case, then that's it. But I'm not sure. Elder Tang suddenly sighed. Your mother is a jealous person. She was the one who single-handedly caused everything that happened in the past. Now that the Ice Palace's Palace Master is indeed your sister, it may not be a good thing for the Tang family. After the excitement, Grandfather Tang's mind calmed down. His eldest son had married 3 wives. His first wife was also from a hidden family. To be honest, it was just a marriage alliance. His eldest son had no feelings for his eldest son. As for his eldest son's childhood sweetheart, she became his second wife. However, Grandfather Tang's eldest daughter-in-law had used a scheme to kill his second daughter-in-law. If not for the fact that she was from an aristocratic family, Grandfather Tang would have punished her. However, his second daughter-in-law had no background and no children. So, after his eldest daughter-in-law's family offered some compensation, the matter was left unsettled. As for the third daughter-in-law, after his second daughter-in-law died, his eldest son married her and gave birth to a daughter. Originally, this daughter would not have been a threat to Tang Yu's right to inherit the position of junior head of household. However, His jealous eldest daughter-in-law ordered the servants to throw the daughter out. After this incident, the third daughter-in-law became depressed and did not speak much. Instead, she spent all day looking for her daughter. It was as if she was mentally unstable. Seeing that she was no longer a threat, the eldest daughter-in-law no longer paid attention to her. Using the excuse that she had gone crazy, she ordered the servants to lock her up in a separate courtyard and refused to see the rest of the Tang family. My mother? If I were my father, I would have divorced her a long time ago. Tang Yuyu's face flashed with anger. She is not fit to be my mother. I'm ashamed of her. When I was young, I was very close to third aunt. I would often send people to deliver daily necessities to her. I believe, with my help, third aunt will not blame our Tang family. Tang Yuyu was an honest and kind person. He respected open schemes and was very disdainful towards schemes. Target equals underscore blank. Chapter 1610. The emotional Tang family. As a result, Tang Yu did not have the upper hand in the fight for the position of young master. If he had been willing to play some tricks, the position would have been his long ago. Although she was Tang Yuyu's biological mother, the things that his mother did made Tang Yuyu despise her. As a result, Tang Yuyu's relationship with her was very cold, and he kept a respectful distance from her. Sanctuary, that's true. Grandfather Tang nodded his head and said, But Yuyu, do you know why I haven't agreed to let you be the young master? Huh. Tang Yuyu was surprised. He didn't know why his grandfather would suddenly bring this up. Yuyu, you are a good person. You are a real man, and there is nothing wrong with your character. However, you are too loyal and don't know how to scheme. By placing you in the position of young master too early, I'm not helping you, I'm harming you. In the family, there are many people eyeing that position. It's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to guard against a stab in the dark. If you really become the young master, you will soon become the target of everyone. When that time comes, I'm afraid you won't even know how you died. Grandfather Tang sighed. Tang Yu was stunned. He suddenly understood his grandfather's painstaking efforts. It turned out that grandfather's heart had always been on his side. Thinking of this, Tang Yu was extremely moved. Thank you, grandfather, for taking care of me. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. This matter must be kept a secret. Don't tell anyone else. At the moment, only the two of us know about it. If this matter is leaked, it will be a blessing or a curse for the Tang family. Grandfather Tang warned. Sanctuary, yes. Tang Yi replied solemnly. Good. Now come with me to see your third auntie. Grandfather Tang said. Follow me and be careful. Don't let anyone see you. Yes. Tang Yi replied. And so, Grandfather Tang led Tang Yu out of the secret room. Avoiding everyone's eyes, they directly arrived at the courtyard where third auntie was being held captive. Grandfather Tang was a heaven-ranked expert. For him, this matter was as easy as flipping his hand. The servant in third concubine's courtyard suddenly saw two more people in the courtyard. He was so shocked that he was about to shout. However, when he saw clearly who it was, he was shocked. Old master, young master. Go ahead, it's none of your business. Tang Yu waved his hand and gestured. Yes, young master. The servant did not dare to speak, and hurriedly bowed his head, and left to attend to his own matters. Meanwhile, Tang Yu and Grandfather Tang directly entered third aunt's room. What he saw was a young married woman. She was dressed very simply. Although she was a little listless, she was definitely not mentally ill. The young woman's appearance was no longer there, but one could tell that she had been a beauty when she was young. Looking at this third aunt, Tang Yu could not help but sigh. Thinking back to when he was young, she had brought him along to play. She had been such a beautiful young girl, just like the current Ice Palace master. But now, after so many years, things had changed. All these years, although Tang Yu had often asked people to send food and clothing to third aunt, in order to avoid arousing suspicion, he had never come here. After all, he was the grandson of the first wife. How could he possibly get involved with third aunt? At the same time, Grandfather Tang could not help but lament the passing of time. It had only been 10 years, and this third aunt had already become so haggard. Thinking about his eldest son, who was willing to do anything for the sake of power, Grandfather Tang shook his head. If it wasn't for his eldest son's tacit approval, no matter how jealous his daughter-in-law was, this was still the Tang family, not hers. It wasn't a place where she could do whatever she wanted. However, in order to get hold of his daughter-in-law's weakness, he used her family's influence to throw away his own flesh and blood. This was simply inhumane. Elder Tang noticed all of this, but he did not say a word. The Tang family needed to develop, so they needed a ruthless person. As long as he did not do anything that would harm the Tang family's interests, Grandfather Tang would not interfere. Hearing the sound, third aunt turned around. When she saw the old man and the young man in front of her, she was stunned. She naturally recognized the old man, but the young man looked a little familiar. However, she did not dare to recognize him. "Father, why are you here?" Third aunt hurriedly stood up and bowed. "Father, please take a seat." Third aunt was a little fearful. For the past 10 years, no one from the Tang family had appeared before her. But now, the Tang family head had suddenly appeared, causing her to panic. She was originally from a poor background, and was not from a big family. All these years, she had lost her daughter, and had always been depressed. She also knew that the big madam did not like her, so she could only wait for her life to come to an end. "Xiaoming, it's been so many years. It must have been hard on you." My unfilial son sighed. As soon as Grandfather Tang entered the room, he waved his hand and sighed. "Father, it's not his fault, it's Xiaoming's fault for being careless." Third aunt was fearful, unsure of what Grandfather Tang was planning. "All these years, I have never given up on finding your daughter. But as you know, the eldest daughter-in-law's family is as powerful as the Tang family. So, I had no choice but to ask you to investigate in secret." Grandfather Tang lied without batting an eyelid. He pointed to Tang Yu and said, "Yu has always been close to you when he was young. Now that his sister has gone missing, he has become estranged from his mother." "Ah, it's the big young master." After hearing Grandfather Tang's words, Third aunt finally recognized the young man in front of her as Tang Yu. "Third aunt, all these years, in order to avoid arousing suspicion, I haven't visited you. I am truly ashamed." Tang Yu bowed deeply. These were his sincere words. He wasn't as hypocritical as Elder Tang. He had a close relationship with Third Auntie, otherwise, he wouldn't have sent people to deliver gifts to her all these years. "Young master, you're exaggerating. All these years, I've relied on you to take care of me. I don't have to worry about food and clothing here." Third aunt didn't doubt Grandfather Tang's words. If others had forgotten about her, she would have believed it. But all these years, Tang Yu had sent gifts to her during the festive season. This touched Third aunt very much. In the past, she didn't treat Tang Yu well. This child was really not bad. Hearing that Tang Yu had been secretly searching for his daughter all these years, Third aunt was even more excited as she asked, "Young master, then, did you manage to find out anything about Tang Tang?" Third aunt's daughter's nickname was Tang Tang. It was a very nice name. As for her real name, it was also Tang Tang. It was just that the characters were different. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 16:11. Chapter 16:10. Preparing to go to the Ice Palace. I have some news. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here with grandfather. Tang Yu sighed. Although his grandfather was lying, he couldn't refute him. He simply said, "Third auntie, you are the elder. Why are you calling me young master? Just call me Yu. Xiaoming, Yu has indeed found news of Tang Tang. However, he isn't sure if this person is Tang Tang. Look, he took a photo." "Ah, where is it?" After hearing Grandfather Tang's words, Third auntie seemed to be in a much better mood. She said excitedly, "Quick, let me see." However, she quickly realized that she had lost her composure. She quickly said, "Father, I'm sorry. I was too anxious." "It's nothing. Yu, let Xiaoming see the phone." Grandfather Tang's attitude had always been good. As a sly old fox, he naturally knew how to put on an act. Tang Yu had already revealed his true feelings, so there was no need for him to put on an act. Third auntie, please take a look. Tang Yu handed the phone to third auntie. Third concubine took the phone and glanced at it. She exclaimed in surprise, and almost dropped the phone on the ground. Her eyes stared straight at the photo on the phone. Her throat was stuck, and she couldn't say a word. She couldn't help but tear up. After a long time, she finally said in a barely audible voice, "Tang Tang, is that you? Tang Tang, it must be you." Grandfather Tang and Tang Yu didn't say anything. They both knew that third auntie needed some time to digest this news. At this time, it was already a miracle that she didn't faint from excitement. After all, no one would be able to accept the sudden news of their long-lost daughter. "Yes, it must be. Father, when I first saw her, I had an inexplicable feeling in my heart, as if she was my daughter. This is a kind of blood connection. I'm sure it's her. She must be Tang Tang." Third aunt said, "Where is she? I'm going to find her." This. Grandfather Tang smiled bitterly. "Xiaoming, don't get too excited. It's a bit complicated." "Complicated?" Third auntie wanted to say something, but she shut her mouth. She looked at Grandfather Tang with anticipation and anxiety. "Xiaoming, do you know her current identity?" Grandfather Tang sighed and said, "Her current identity is the palace master of an ancient sect, Ice Palace." "What? An ancient sect? Ice Palace palace master?" Third aunt was shocked. Although she was born poor, she had been in the hidden Tang family for many years. She knew about the hidden families in ancient sections. So when she heard that the person in the photo was the palace master of the ancient sect, Ice Palace, she was stunned. Holy Church, this is also the reason why Zhua and I are uncertain. Old Man Tang said, "The difference between us and the Ice Palace's palace master is simply too great." How could an abandoned child of the Tang family become the palace master of one of the largest ancient sects, the Ice Palace? This was too unimaginable. Moreover, according to Yu, she was a peak late-stage heaven rank master. Even I am only at the early stage of heaven rank. Third aunt held the phone tightly and did not speak. She looked at the person in the photo, and no one knew what she was thinking. As for Grandfather Tang and Tang Yu, they did not disturb her. After a while, third aunt said, "I have a feeling that she is my daughter, it really is. Xiaoming, if you're sure, let's personally go to the Ice Palace's location. Even if we're right or not, there's nothing to lose." Elder Tang had already thought it through. Going to the Ice Palace wouldn't be considered as offending the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace was different from the everyday and everyday day sect, which didn't play by the rules. Sects like the Ice Palace sometimes didn't care about small and weak powers. If they really went to the Ice Palace, they would at most be chased out for making a mistake, but there wouldn't be any danger. "Is that okay?" "Okay." Third aunt agreed without hesitation. She also wanted to see her daughter as soon as possible. Not to mention the Ice Palace. Even if she had to go to the ends of the earth, she would go. "Then it's decided. You don't need to say anything to the servants. I will make the arrangements, and we will set off in a few days." Grandfather Tang said after a moment of silence. "I understand." Third aunt nodded in agreement. Although third concubine was born in a poor family and did not have any bad intentions, she was not stupid. She quickly realized that if her daughter Tang Tang was really the palace master of the Ice Palace, the future of the Tang family would be greatly affected. But would her daughter be willing to acknowledge her as her mother? Thinking of this, third aunt's expression darkened. Grandfather Tang and Tang Yu quickly left. They had to make arrangements for the family and head to the Ice Palace, but they could not let the rest of the family suspect them. There were still many things to be arranged. In the resort, after taking a shower, Linny and Kong Xiaobo were chatting on the sofa. "It feels like a dream. Thinking back to when you first transferred here and had a conflict with Zhong Pingliang, it is still fresh in my mind. In the blink of an eye, I have become a vice president of a company. This change is really big." Kong Xiaobo sighed. Hearing Kong Xiaobo's words, Ling Yi's heart was filled with emotions as well. Back then, he was just an ordinary assassin, or rather, a small bodyguard. In short, His job was similar to that of a bounty hunter, and his life was uncertain. But now, not only did he have his own company, but he also had the strength to challenge the noble houses. This was unimaginable in the past. At that time, he was just a normal bodyguard protecting Yu Ning, the little princess of the hidden house Yu. Compared to Yu Ning, it felt like a cowherd and a weaver girl. But now, with a shake of his body, he dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. He stole a chi-gathering pill, and even dared to step on their representative in the common world, the common house Yu, and even asked them to send 2 concubines over. Life was like this, full of miracles and twists. No one could predict their own future. Xiaobo, have you thought about how to arrange for your university? Linny asked. I don't know yet, but I think I will find an economics school, put my name on it, and get a certificate. Right now, I want to focus on managing the company. When the time comes, if I am not capable enough, I will study for an MBA in business management. Xiaobo said, but I did get Fun to sign up for a night university, so she can go study at night. She's different from me, she's better at quality inspection. I'm planning on getting her to get some certifications related to that, since our company needs people like that in the future. Target equals _blank. Chapter 16:12. Alright, since you've made up your mind, I won't say anything else. Linny nodded, a little regretful. It seemed like Kong Xiaobo had already walked on his own path. He couldn't spend his university years with Linny anymore. Oh right, boss, Kong Mingming doesn't seem to have given up. I've seen him roping in people from the purchasing and quality control departments. It seems like he's also eyeing our painkiller formula. Kong Xiaobo said. Although the purchasing and quality control departments don't have a detailed formula, I'm still afraid that they'll leak something and let them research something. Don't worry about him. Linny said faintly. The most important core technologies for painkillers are in your and Fatty Lie's hands. He can research the rest if he wants. Be careful not to explode. Huh. Kong Xiaobo was stunned. Didn't I tell you guys that I bought some other drugs together? Linny asked. Yeah, after buying, they were all stored in the warehouse. Kong Xiaobo nodded. Could it be those drugs? He put them together and made them explode. Linny smiled. Boss, it can't be? You're really something. Kong Xiaobo wanted his men to be careful and not spill the beans. Or he could just fire those who had contact with Kong Mingming. But after listening to Lin Yi's words, Kong Xiaobo was impressed. So boss, you had foresight. It's not foresight, it's just a coincidence. The medicinal ingredients that I asked you guys to buy are produced in small quantities every year. They're needed for the next drug that's on the market, so I bought them in advance. But if you mix them with the other ingredients, it'll easily explode. Linny said. Kong Xiaobo clicked his tongue, sighing at Kong Ming's bad luck. The ingredients that he spent so much effort to get would probably explode after he made them. Then, do we need to leak it to him? Kong Xiaobo asked after some hesitation. If he gives you money, just give him the list. Linny smiled. Just like last time. Okay. Kong Xiaobo was happy after getting Lin Yi's permission. Not only could he extort money from him, but he could also screw Kong Mingming over. Why not? In the other room, Mengyao and Yushu were whispering on the bed after they finished showering. Shu, how did you feel when you kissed Linny today? Mengyao wanted to ask, but she was too shy to do so in front of Linny. Hee, Yao sis, why don't you give it a try? Why should I give it a try? I would have done it if I wanted to. Mengyao blushed. I don't want to, that's why I'm asking you. Oh, actually, you were the first one to kiss Shield Bro. Yao, did you forget? You guys kissed indirectly. Yushu said. Mengyao's face darkened as she thought back to that indirect kiss. She'd only felt hatred and disgust for Linny back then, and that was why she'd reacted so strongly. But now that she thought about it, it didn't really matter. Linny didn't even care about her pee. Why would she care about Lin Yi's saliva? Mengyao's face reddened even more when she thought about that incident. That was the most shameful experience Mingyao had ever had in her life. What about that time? Mingyao coughed. Forget it. It's fine if you don't want to say it. Aya, Yao Yao sis, don't be angry. I'll say it. Yushu looked at the blushing Mingyao. Whoa, Yao Yao sis, are you shy? What are you talking about? It's because I'm hot. Mingyao argued. Are you going to say it or not? It's fine if you don't. Alright, I'll tell you. With that, Yushu planted a kiss on Mengyao's lips. Mengyao was still in a daze when Yushu said gleefully, That's it, now you get it, right? Mengyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are you the same as Linny? Hey Yao Yao sis, you should try it yourself. I really don't understand. Yushu stopped fooling around. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Mengyao waved her hand. Shoo, do you really like Linny? Oh. Yushu started playing dumb again. What are you talking about? Answer me. Mengyao said sternly. Of course I like him. Don't you like him too, Yao Yao sis? Yushu said seriously. Don't drag me into this. Mengyao said. I'm asking you now. We'll talk about my stuff later. Then I like him. Yushu nodded. Then have you ever thought that Linny already has Tang Yun and Feng Xiaoxiao by his side? Mengyao seemed to be asking Yushu. But more importantly, it was a question she was asking herself. It was a question she had been struggling with. If she didn't reject him so much, would she be his girlfriend? Mengyao thought about it, but there was no answer. There was no if in this world. It was all in the past. There was no use in ifs. It's not like there's another me, right? Yushu didn't seem to understand what Mengyao meant at all. You won't be jealous? Mengyao had no choice. She could only ask more clearly. Jealous? Yushu shook her head. If I was jealous, why would I let you be the main wife, Yao Yao sis? Mengyao really didn't know how to communicate with Yushu's nonsensical answers. Sometimes Yushu looked smarter than anyone else, but other times, Yushu would just change the topic no matter how you tried to explain things to her. Yushu didn't want to understand. Sometimes Mengyao really admired Yushu. This girl wasn't simple. She thought about what she wanted to think about, and didn't think about what she didn't want to think about at all. Yao Yao sis, I actually understand what you're saying. Yushu suddenly changed her tone, and put away the smile on her face. She said to Mengyao, but sometimes, thinking too much is a kind of pain. Tomorrow will have its own troubles tomorrow. Why worry about tomorrow? It's fine as long as we're happy today. I don't want to think too much. But, what about your future? Is it really like what you said? Tang Yun will be the main wife, and you and Xiaoxiao will be the small wives. Mengyao felt a little dizzy. What would happen to her then? Future? That's too far. Yushu sighed and smiled. I don't want to think about it, hee. *J. Chapter 1613. The Mrs. Sikmingyao looked at the carefree Yushu, and felt a little envious. Go to sleep, it's getting late. I heard that you have to go hiking tomorrow? Okay. Yushu nodded, smiling bitterly in her heart. Sometimes, she didn't like being like this. It was around midnight, when Yushu got up to go to the washroom. When she got up, she accidentally touched Mengyao's body. Yushu's body temperature was higher than a normal person's, but Mengyao had burned her. Yushu jumped in fright. Yao Yao, what's wrong? Yushu touched Mengyao's forehead subconsciously. It was even scarier. Yushu quickly turned on the bedside lamp and dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi was practicing when his phone rang. He quickly came back to reality and picked it up. Shoo. Lin Yi paused when he saw the caller ID. Shoo was calling him in the middle of the night. What was going on? Shield bro, come quick. Yao, do you? Yushu couldn't catch her breath, and only got halfway through her sentence when Lin Yi jumped in shock. Yao wants. And she wants him to come quick? Lin Yi couldn't help but think of some evil things. But thinking was just thinking. Lin Yi subconsciously thought that Shu was joking. After all, Lin Yi knew Mengyao's character very well. She wouldn't ask Yushu to call him in the middle of the night. With the Mrs. Soft Skin, she wouldn't ask Yushu for help even if she wanted to do something. And so Lin Yi quickly said, Shu, what's wrong? Take your time. What happened? Yao Yao sis. Yao Yao sis is going to burn to death. Yushu took a deep breath and said, Shield bro, come save her. She's having a fever. I'll be right there. Lenny guessed that it wasn't the case. He quickly put on his coat and got ready to leave after hearing that Meng Yao was sick. At this time, Kong Xiaobo was also awakened. He opened his eyes in confusion and looked at Lenny. He asked curiously, Boss, what's wrong? Yao Yao is sick. I'll go over and take a look. You sleep, Lenny said to Kong Xiaobo. Do you need my help? Kong Xiaobo subconsciously asked. It's fine. Lenny sighed. Meng Yao was a girl, after all, and it wouldn't be convenient for Kong Xiaobo to go. He and the miss, on the other hand, didn't have to avoid each other anymore. So much had happened after all. All right, I'll wait here. If you need me to buy any medicine, just tell me, boss, and I'll go. Kong Xiaobo nodded. He rushed to Yushu's room and knocked on the door. It didn't take long for the door to open. Yushu was only wearing a thin silk pajamas, and her body was faintly discernible. Under the dim light, it made one's imagination run wild. However, Lenny only took one look and suppressed the evil thoughts in his heart. This kind of situation often happened at home, and Lenny had practiced to the point of turning a blind eye to it. It wasn't that Yushu didn't pay attention, but she made sure that there was only Lenny outside before opening the door. From her point of view, Lin Yi and Yao Yao had already seen everything. What was there to avoid? Of course, if Kong Xiaobo had come with him, Yushu wouldn't have opened the door so quickly. Shield bro, come quickly. Yushu closed the door and pulled Lin Yi into the room. Lin Yi followed Yushu into the room. Yushu wanted to turn on the light, but Lin Yi waved his hand and refused. This kind of dim bedside lamp was enough for Lin Yi to see clearly. There was no need to turn on the light. It would wake Meng Yao up. No need to turn on the light, I'll take a look first. Lin Yi quickly walked to Meng Yao's bedside. Meng Yao was also wearing silk pajamas, very thin. Because Meng Yao was lying on the bed, the 2 points on her chest were faintly discernible. Lin Yi only glanced at them unintentionally, and it was hard for him to move his eyes away. Although Lin Yi spent a lot of time with them, he usually wouldn't go upstairs, and Meng Yao and Yushu wouldn't wear 2 revealing pajamas downstairs. But right now, Lin Yi's breathing was rapid. Shield bro, you treat Yao Yao first. You can look after her when she's better. Yushu quickly reminded when she saw where Lin Yi was looking at. Ahem. Lin Yi didn't expect his actions to be noticed by Yushu, and he was embarrassed. He coughed twice and tried to explain himself. I'm just checking if there's anything wrong with Yao Yao's chest. I hope it's not pneumonia or emphysema. Lin Yi was just bullshitting. He didn't have X-ray vision, so how could he have seen it? But it was enough to fool Yushu a little to ease the awkwardness. Oh, Yushu realized that she'd misunderstood Lin Yi. That's right, Shield bro can look at it anytime he wants. There's no need to look at it now. There's plenty of opportunities at home. Shield bro, do you want me to take off Yao Yao sis's clothes before you take a look? It's not good, right? It's not pneumonia. Pfft. Lin Yi almost fainted at Yushu's words. He quickly waved his hand. Not yet, I'll take a look first. Okay. Yushu was in too much of a rush, and didn't even realize that her words were inappropriate. Lin Yi took in a deep breath, calming himself down. He moved his eyes away, and started feeling Meng Yao's pulse like a doctor. It's just a cold, Lin Yi said with a sigh of relief. It's not a big deal. Did she catch a cold today? Yeah. Yao Yao and I turned the air conditioner to the max when you were neutralizing the poison, Shield bro. She might have caught a cold then, Yushu said after some thought. It's been hard on you guys. Lin Yi sighed as he took out his needles and used his pure qi to disinfect the poison. He poked Yao Yao's body a few times. She'll be fine after a while. It's not a big deal. With that, Lin Yi picked up his phone and dialed Kong Xiaobo's number. Boss, what do you need me to do? Kong Xiaobo was on standby, so he picked up immediately after Lin Yi's call. Go to the pharmacy in the resort and buy a box of cold capsules. If you don't have any, grab some herbs yourself. Ephedra, cassia twig, bramble mustard, scutellaria, bitter almond, notopterygium. Lin Yi listed off a list of herbs. Okay, I'll go right now. Kong Xiaobo nodded. Chapter 1614. There was really no problem, Lin. He didn't need to brew his own medicine for a common cold. This was a prescription that had been used for thousands of years. There was no need to change it at all. There were a lot of medicines out there. Lin would only brew his own if he didn't have any. Holy Haomingyao had been awake the whole time. She woke up when Shu told her that her body was burning up. But she had no energy and couldn't speak. Mengyao knew that Lin Yi's eyes were on her chest. The miss was embarrassed and angry at the same time. She almost fainted. But in her heart, there was a trace of joy. Did his chest look so good? Was it better than Shu's big cow? Otherwise, why would Lin Yi stare at her and not Yushu? How was she compared to Tang Yun? Eldest young miss was having a fever, and her mind liked to let her imagination run wild. The more she thought things that Mengyao normally wouldn't think about when she was in a rational state of mind, were all surging into her mind at this moment. But she was a little disappointed when he said that he was checking for pneumonia. Was he really checking for pneumonia? But that gaze didn't seem to be as simple as checking for pneumonia. Mengyao could clearly feel the color of a pervert in that gaze. But not only was Mengyao not angered by the pervert's gaze, she was even a little happy. Mengyao didn't even have time to think about it before the needles pierced into her body. Mengyao felt a cooling sensation all over her body, and it didn't feel as hot anymore. Looking at Lin Yi, Mengyao's half-closed eyes became blurry. 7*, shield bro, is that it? Is it just a simple cold? Yushu let out a sigh of relief when she heard that it was just a cold. Yeah, it's just a cold. Lin Yi nodded. Do you think it's something serious? Right. Didn't you have the air conditioner in the afternoon? Do you feel any discomfort? Let me check for you. Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Shu was there too. If she caught a cold, then she should be treated as soon as possible. Yushu didn't seem to have any problems right now. But things like colds had different incubation periods. Some people would get sick right away, while others might take a whole day to react. Me. I'm fine. My body temperature's a little higher than a normal person's, and the heat doesn't affect me at all. Yushu blinked, but a strange light flashed through her eyes. Alright. Shield bro, hurry up and give me a checkup. Check if I'm sick. Heh. Lin Yi smiled and said, give me your hand. Yushu reached out. Do I need to take off my clothes? My breasts are bigger than Yao Yao sis. If I don't take them off, Shield bro won't be able to see clearly, right? I don't want to get pneumonia. Lin Yi slipped and nearly fell to the ground. He rubbed his nose and bitterly smiled. There's no need for that. Your symptoms don't match, so there shouldn't be any. 7*. Oh, Yushu nodded, not too disappointed. She looked at Lin Yi a little anxiously. Shield bro, is there something wrong with me? No. Lin Yi gave Yushu a simple checkup. She didn't have any symptoms of a cold. You're very healthy. Your body is a little better than Yao Yao's. Ah, I'm not sick. Yushu breathed out in relief. Shield bro, did you check me thoroughly? Of course. Lin Yi smiled. I can tell with one glance if it's a simple illness like this. What if I have other complicated illnesses? Yushu reached out her hand again. Shield bro, do you want to check me again? See if there are any other illnesses? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he still held Yushu's wrist and gave it a checkup. He shook his head. There's really nothing wrong, there's no pneumonia. Oh, Yushu was a little disappointed. Then do I need to take off my clothes and check again? No need, Lin Yi said. Mengyao, who was lying on the bed, was very unhappy when she heard Yushu's words. What did she mean by Yao Yao's breasts were small, and she had big breasts? This Yushu was asking for a beating. Yushu was about to say something when someone knocked on the door. Lin Yi turned to Yushu. Wait here, I'll go open the door. It was probably Kong Xiaobo, who came to deliver the medicine. It wasn't a good time for Yushu to show herself. Lin Yi opened the door. It was indeed Kong Xiaobo. Boss, the medicine is here. Kong Xiaobo was about to go in, but he hesitated. He passed the medicine to Lin Yi and said, I'll go back first. Okay, thanks. Lin Yi nodded and returned to the room with the medicine. He fed the medicine to Mengyao and put away the silver needles. Shu, you should rest early too. Yao Yao is fine. She'll be fine when she wakes up tomorrow morning. Okay. Yushu knew that Lin Yi was leaving and waved at Lin Yi. After taking the medicine, Meng Yao fell asleep very quickly. The next morning, when Meng Yao woke up, she felt refreshed. She didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Thinking back, it was like a dream. If it wasn't for the box of flu soft capsules on the bedside, Meng Yao would have thought that everything was just a dream. Looking at Shu, who was sleeping soundly, Meng Yao didn't want to disturb her. She knew that Shu was busy last night and didn't sleep well, so she wanted to let her sleep a little longer. After some hesitation, Miss picked up her phone and sent a message to Lin Yi. But it was only 2 words. Thank you. Lin Yi looked at the message in his hand and couldn't help but smile. Mrs. Personality, he replied casually. Don't forget to take your medicine in the morning. Meng Yao didn't reply again. It was obvious that she went to take her medicine. It was around 8 o'clock, and Shu woke up. Seeing that there was no one beside her, she said in a daze, Yao Yao sis? Shu, you're awake? Meng Yao had just taken her medicine, so she went to wash up and put on her clothes. Ugh, Yao Yao sis, you're better? Yushu rubbed her eyes and sat up. What time is it? Didn't you say we're going hiking today? Can we make it in time? It's still early. It's only 8 o'clock. Didn't you say we'll meet at 9? Meng Yao said. Thank you for yesterday. Yao Yao sis, why are you thanking me? Yushu said. Thank you for Shield Bro. Yao Yao sis, Shield Bro has saved you so many times. Have you ever thought about repaying him with your body? You better take off your clothes and let him check his body. Meng Yao curled her lips. Chapter 16:15. Chapter 16:14. A plan of coincidence. Ah? Yao Yao, you heard everything? Yushu thought that Meng Yao had been asleep the whole night. I'm not deaf. Meng Yao smiled. The two joked around for a while before putting on their clothes and leaving the room, going to the lobby downstairs. Most of the students were already there, including Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo. Meng Yao and Yushu walked over, and Lin Yi said, There's free breakfast over there. Do you guys want some? Xiaobo and I already ate. Nope, Shu and I just had some bread. Meng Yao shook her head. She had just recovered from a serious illness, and her appetite wasn't very good. Pin Liang in Xiaofu's room. You always drop the ball at critical moments, kid. How did Meng Yao's tag end up in Lin Yi's hands? What did you do? Didn't I tell you to put it in the box? Pin Liang saw how disgusted Xiaofu was yesterday, but he didn't lose his temper, holding it in until this morning. Liang bro, it's not my fault. I don't know what happened either. I did put the tag in the box. Who knew how it ended up in Lin Yi's hands? Xiaofu said with a bitter face. Liang bro, I'm the unlucky one in the end. How could I make things difficult for myself? You're right. Pin Liang waved his hand and sighed. That Lin Yi is a mystic. He might have some special tricks up his sleeves that we don't know about. I wanted to get closer to Meng Yao yesterday. Liang bro, should we go to Plan B? Xiaofu saw the reluctance on Pin Liang's face. He knew that Pin Liang's lifelong dream was to be close to Meng Yao. And even though he knew that it was impossible for them to be together, it was still a grudge buried deep in Pin Liang's heart. He didn't want to give it up. Plan B, isn't it a little dangerous? Pin Liang knew about Xiaofu's second plan, but he felt that it was more dangerous. Holy Hall, it's nothing. I've already inquired about it beforehand. There are people selling grass snakes nearby. They don't have any poison. When the time comes, I'll be the bad guy, and you'll be the good guy, Gao Xiaofu said. For Liang Ji, I don't mind doing some evil things. That's fine too. Pin Liang thought about it. As long as he didn't come into contact with snakes, he wouldn't have to worry about getting bitten. Don't worry, Liang bro. I'll just pretend that I let the snake bite Meng Yao by accident, and you'll be able to get intimate with her after you give her the drug. Xiaofu said. Lin Yi won't get the first one, will he? Pin Liang was worried. Nope. When we get to the top of the mountain later, you'll teach everyone about first aid if they get bitten by a snake. I'll go with you. And when Meng Yao gets bitten, you'll be the first one to rush to her rescue. It shouldn't be a problem, Xiaofu said. All right. Then it's settled. Pin Liang nodded, gritting his teeth. After the planning was done, the two went downstairs and organized everyone to climb the mountain behind the resort. Liang bro and I will lead everyone up the mountain later, but please be careful. There might be grass snakes on the mountain, but grass snakes aren't poisonous. There might be venomous snakes too, so if you get bitten by a grass snake or a venomous snake, please inform me or Liang bro immediately. Xiaofu said. Liang bro was worried that something might happen to you guys, so he learned some first aid knowledge in the wild, including how to deal with a snake bite. Liang bro is now a professional drug user, and he can suck out snake venom in no time. Liang bro really cares about us. The students were all touched by Xiaofu's words. They didn't expect Pinliang to not only spend money to invite them here, but he was also so thoughtful. Linny listened to Xiaofu's words, a faint look of confusion flashing in his eyes. He didn't know what this guy was up to this time. Behind the resort was a small mountain. It wasn't too tall, and it was half man-made, half natural. But for this resort, it was a good place to relax. Today, Boss Ju deliberately found an excuse to bring Chen Shi to the mountain behind the resort. The reason was very simple. The people who climbed the mountain must have brought a lot of drinks. After drinking, they could pick up a lot of mineral water bottles and drink bottles. Chen Shi used to follow Boss Ju to the beach, amusement park, and other places to pick up scraps on the weekends, so she didn't suspect anything this time. Moreover, it was said that selling grass snakes here could earn a lot of money. There were many local villagers selling grass snakes near the mountain. Grass snakes weren't poisonous, and many tourists bought them as pets to play with, so the sales were quite good. Boss Ju had asked about this before, and that was why he decided to sell grass snakes here. After thinking about it, he realized that it wasn't easy to get a grass snake that had eaten the 5-step powder to bite Lin Yi. It was a bit complicated, so it was easier to get Lin Yi to buy a grass snake and bite him. Of course, Boss Ju was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't buy the snake from him, so he had Sihua bring a bunch of gangsters over to threaten and bribe them, chasing away all the other villagers who were selling the snakes. So Boss Ju became the only one selling grass snakes here. Boss Ju wasn't afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't buy it either. Since he knew Chen Shi, he should at least show some support since she was selling snakes here, right? Of course, Boss Ju wasn't afraid that the grass snake wouldn't bite Lin Yi, because other than the 5-step powder, he also fed it another kind of medicine, which made the grass snakes go crazy and bite people as soon as they were caught. Grandpa Ju, selling grass snakes, can we earn money? Chen Shi was a bit puzzled. They had never done any other business other than picking up scraps. But this time, Grandpa Ju was selling grass snakes for the first time, which made Chen Shi feel strange. Yes. It's okay if we don't earn money, we can just try. This grass snake is a gift from your grandpa's friend anyway. It's free. Boss Ju said. Oh, that's good. Chen Shi nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Pinliang and Xiaofu walked in front, and the rest of the class followed behind. Xiaofu looked at the street along the way, and noticed that there were quite a few souvenir vendors, but there were no vendors selling grass snakes. Xiaofu was puzzled. Something wasn't right. There were a lot of grass snakes on the street when he came to investigate, but why weren't there any today? Could it be that these people couldn't catch a single snake? Or was it bought by a restaurant to make a snake feast? Chapter 16:16. But no matter how hard Xiaofu looked, he couldn't find a single snake stall. Xiaofu, what's wrong with you? Didn't you say there was a snake? We've been walking for so long. Why haven't we seen a single one? Pinliang's face wasn't looking too well. The plan was all set, but the props were gone. Liang bro, there really were a lot of snakes before. Why aren't there any today? Gao Xiaofu said with a bitter face. You saw it the last time we came here for an inspection. The streets were full of snakes. Humph. Pinliang had indeed seen snakes last time, but he was still feeling uneasy. He humphed coldly. Why are you always dropping the ball at the most critical moments? What's going on? Keep looking. There must be. Xiaofu wiped the sweat off his forehead, a little ashamed. Liang bro, don't worry, I promise I'll find. Forget it, if there's really nothing then it's fine. Pin Liang waved his hand helplessly, thinking that he'd just have to endure it for now. Once Zhang Naipeo came back, he'd crush Lin Yi beneath his feet, and Mengyao would be his, wouldn't she? No one would be able to protect her then. Even Zhang Wen was just a small character in front of an ancient sect like Paozi. There's a snake stall over there. Gao Xiaofu suddenly saw a stall not far away. It was an old man with a little girl, and they were touching snakes there. Oh, there really is? Pin Liang looked in the direction Xiaofu was pointing, and saw the snake stall as well. He quickly said, then why aren't you going? You want to bring a snake back? Yes. Xiaofu quickly ran over to the snake stall, speaking to the old man. Hey, how did you do that? Boss Ju's goal here was to give the snakes to Lin Yi, not to anyone else, so he didn't set up his stall earlier. Watching Lin Yi's group from afar before setting up his stall, he didn't think that someone would come along and try to steal the snakes. The snakes had been tampered with, so why would Boss Ju give them to Xiaofu? He was just about to say no, but then he thought about it. If he said no, wouldn't Chenxi be suspicious? With that thought, Boss Ju could only say, 2,000 a snake. What? Gao Xiaofu was stunned. What do you mean by 2,000 per snake? Did he think they were gold-plated snakes? He'd done some research before, and a snake was only 10 or 20 kwai. How could it be 2,000 a snake? Wasn't he trying to cheat them? 2,000 a snake. Don't be a nuisance if you don't want to. Boss Ju saw that Lin Yi and the others were coming, and he didn't want to waste time with Xiaofu. He wanted to chase him away as soon as possible. Fermented, you old bastard, you're really evil. Xiaofu wanted to bargain, but he didn't expect the old man to chase him away. Xiaofu didn't know what to do. He thought to himself, 2,000 it is, since this old man was the only one here. Fine. 2,000. Here you go. Xiaofu took out his wallet, took out 2,000 kwai, and threw it on the stall. He didn't have time to waste with the old man, and Mengyao was about to come over. 2,000 and you dare to cheat? Boss Ju was so angry that he wanted to curse. You're a spendthrift, aren't you? You have nowhere to spend your money, right? Spending 2,000 for a damn snake? You can hire people to go up the mountain and catch a basket of them for you. Chenxi's eyes widened. She didn't expect a snake to be worth 2,000 kwai. Previously, when Zhu Yinya quoted this price, Chenxi was shocked, thinking that Zhu Yinya might have said something wrong. This snake was a gift from someone else, and it didn't cost anything. There was no cost. Besides, even if it was a snake, it wouldn't be this expensive. She wanted to question the price, but this old man in front of her really did it. Why do you have so much bullshit to say, you old man? Here's the money, give me the snake. Xiaofu was furious. It was one thing for this old man to cheat, but now he didn't even want to cheat after taking the money? Was it too little? It's so expensive, and you're even cheating? Boss Ju was speechless. Why did he have to meet a mental patient at such a crucial time? Old man, are you crazy? Fine, I'll take it myself. Gao Xiaofu ignored Boss Ju. He directly took out a snake from his snake box, turned around, and left. If Boss Ju wanted to stop Gao Xiaofu, it was not too late. With his earth-ranked skills, stopping Gao Xiaofu was a piece of cake. However, the problem was that Lin Yi was not far away. If he revealed his strength, and was discovered by Lin Yi, then his future plans would not work. Therefore, he could only watch as Xiaofu took away a snake. He sighed in his heart. It seemed that he would not be able to complete his plan today. Gao Xiaofu had studied the snake before, and he had also inquired about the characteristics of the snake. He knew how to hold the snake. The snake wouldn't bite, and he also knew how to stimulate the snake to make it bite. However, when he happily ran back with the snake, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his arm. When he looked down, he found that the snake had bitten him. Ah! Xiaofu screamed in pain. He couldn't understand why the snake would suddenly bite him. Previously, he had specially learned how to catch a snake from those people. But today it was ineffective. He didn't know that Boss Ju had fed the snake and turned it into a crazy snake. Gao Xiaofu felt the pain and subconsciously threw the snake away. The snake whizzed into the thicket on the mountain and disappeared. The bite wound on Xiaofu's arm was swollen, as if he had been poisoned. Looking at his arm, Gao Xiaofu was shocked. Aren't these snakes supposed to have no D*CK? Even if he was bitten, there shouldn't be such an obvious reaction. Could it be that it was a poisonous snake that bit him? While Liangzi Xiaofu was bitten by a snake. Hurry up and help him, Yushu said excitedly when she saw Xiaofu jumping in pain. Hurry up and show me how to save him. Pinliang froze as well. He never would have thought that Xiaofu would get bitten by a snake. Not by a snake, but by a poison snake, no less. Pinliang, hurry up and take a look. What should we do? Aren't you a professional in dealing with poisonous snakes? The other students remembered Xiaofu's words before they left, so they quickly turned to Pinliang. Yeah, Zhong Pingliang, look, Gao Xiaofu looks like he's in a lot of pain. Hurry up and help him get the snake out. You're the only one among us who knows how to do this, another student said anxiously. Chapter 16-17. Ugh. Pinliang didn't know what to do. If he went, he was afraid that the snake was venomous. What would happen to him if he sucked the venom into his mouth? But if he didn't go, he'd already let Xiaofu brag about it. And Xiaofu was his brother. He wouldn't be able to raise his head in the eyes of others if he didn't care for his brother. Zhang Naipeo was loyal to him, but that was also the result of him putting on a show. This time, it was Gao Xiaofu's turn. If he could help Xiaofu suck the venom, then Xiaofu would be even more loyal to him in the future. Pinliang, on the other hand, saw that Xiaofu wasn't dead or unconscious after all this time. The venom probably wasn't that strong, so he gritted his teeth and charged over. In fact, the 5-step dispersing powder didn't cause much harm to ordinary people other than cultivators. At most, it would just cause some swelling. However, the drug that Boss Zhu added to make the poisonous snake crazy was harmful to the human body. After it entered the human body, if it wasn't removed quickly, it would cause shortness of breath and increase heartbeat. There was even a risk of suffocation and fainting. However, this was only for ordinary people. For cultivators, this kind of poison didn't have much effect, because cultivators' resistance was relatively strong. The unlucky Xiaofu started twitching and breathing heavily after a few cries of pain. Pinliang jumped when he saw this. Oh my god, could it be that the snake venom is acting up? There had to be something lethal in the venom. But Pinliang was scared, and he was already beside Xiaofu. If he went back on his words now, he'd lose even more face. Losing face was a small thing, but it wouldn't be good if Xiaofu was unhappy with him. Pao wasn't with him right now, and Xiaofu was the only person Pinliang could use. Plus, if he really didn't save Xiaofu and Naipeo found out about this, what would Naipeo think? Pinliang felt that Naipeo was loyal to him, and nothing would happen to him. But he was afraid that the stronger Naipeo got, the harder it would be to control him. Winning over people's hearts was the only way. Back then, he had relied on winning people's hearts to make Naipeo loyal to him. At that thought, Pinliang pounced at Xiaofu without hesitation, grabbing Xiaofu's arm that was bitten by the snake and starting sucking on the wound with his mouth. Gao Xiaofu was instantly moved to tears. If he could, he'd rather suck snake venom himself than let Pinliang take the risk. However, he was bitten by the snake on the back of his arm near his shoulder. He wasn't a giraffe, so it was impossible for him to suck on that part. He could only rely on others to help him. Brother Liang, you really treat us subordinates too well. I finally understand why Pao Zi is so loyal. Gao Xiaofu was touched. Brother Liang really didn't care about his own safety. Last night, Gao Xiaofu was still a little dissatisfied with the fact that Liang Go asked him to play safe kisses with the 2 fat girls. He felt that Liang Ge was using him as a shield. But now, it seemed that he still had to rely on Liang Ge in critical moments. It was normal for Liang Ge to ask his lackeys to do something harmless like last night. But when something really big happened, Liang Ge was the first one to rush up. Gao Xiaofu swore to himself that he would become Liang Ji's right-hand man like Pao Zi, helping Liang Ge fight his enemies. Pin Liang spat out a few mouthfuls of snake venom, his lips swollen into the shape of sausages. Wow, Liang Yi's mouth is so cool. It's like a butt. Yushu laughed at Pin Liang's condition. 7 asterisk. Puffed. A student who was drinking water spat it out, almost choking to death. The rest of the people laughed along with him. Pin Liang was pissed as he glared at Yushu hatefully. He swore to himself, "You big cow, I'll play you to death one day. That's what you get for messing with me and humiliating me." But now Pin Liang still had to suck the snake venom for Gao Xiaofu. "Grandpa Zhu, something's wrong. That grass snake, why did it bite? It's poisonous too." Chen Shi said worriedly as she looked at Gao Xiaofu and Pin Liang. "Yeah, it looks like it's poisonous. Let's run, we don't want to get into trouble." Boss Zhu's face was a little gloomy. A good plan had been ruined by the sudden appearance of Gao Xiaofu. This made Boss Zhu so angry that he wanted to slap this brat to death. But there was nothing he could do under everyone's watchful eyes. The only thing he could do now was to leave and think of other ways to mess with Lin Yi later. Gao Xiaofu had been bitten by a snake, and if he sold the snake to Lin Yi wouldn't buy it. He wouldn't take it even if it was free. However, just as Boss Zhu was about to escape with Chen Shi, he caught a glimpse of the 2,000 yuan that Gao Xiaofu had thrown on top of the bamboo basket. Boss Zhu was overjoyed, and a good plan came to his mind. Boss Zhu looked at Chen Shi with bad intentions, and then pretended to take the money, but he accidentally knocked the money into the bamboo basket, and it fell together with the grass snakes. "Grandpa Zhu, the money fell." Chen Shi saw that Boss Zhu had accidentally dropped the money into the bamboo basket. "Quick, pick it up and let's go, we don't want the snake anymore." Boss Zhu said to Chen Shi, "This money, shouldn't it be returned to the person who bought the snake?" Chen Shi was a bit hesitant. She was a kind person. Now that the snake had bitten someone, if she took the money and left, wouldn't that be a bit too unkind? Although it was a transaction between two parties, and one was willing to buy, and the other was willing to sell, Chen Shi felt that she was in the wrong and didn't want the money, even though it wasn't a small amount. "Then pick it up and return it to him. We'll run." Boss Zhu didn't care. As long as Chen Shi picked up the money, he didn't care if she returned the money or not. Okay. Chen Shi reached out to pick up the money, but she didn't expect that when her hand touched the money in the bamboo basket, she screamed. Her hand had been bitten by the snake in the bamboo basket. Chen Shi subconsciously pulled her hand out, but the wound on her hand was bleeding, and it swelled up instantly. Chen Shi was scared and didn't know what to do. Xiaoxi, why are you so careless?" Boss Zhu pretended to be anxious and screamed. "What should we do? What should we do? There's no doctor here, Xiaoxi. Stand here and don't move. Grandpa will go to the nearby health center to find a doctor for you." Chapter 16:18. After that, Zhu Laoda ran down the mountain without bringing Chen Shi along. Zhu Laoda had a good plan in his mind. He was very proud of his impromptu plan. Didn't Lin Yi know Chen Shi? Are they close? "Now that I'm gone, you can't just leave Chen Shi alone, right? You're the only one here who knows her, so you can help her suck out the snake venom. When you suck out the snake venom, the 5-step powder will also be sucked into your mouth. Even if you spit it out, it'll be useless. The medicine will be absorbed instantly." Lin Yi had been watching the whole thing unfold. First of all, Chen Shi and Zhu Laoda selling snakes here made Lin Yi feel strange. Zhu Laoda had bad intentions. Lin Yi knew that. But what surprised Lin Yi was that after a few days, Zhu Laoda became an Earth-class master. Of course, Lin Yi didn't think that Chen Shi was in cahoots with Zhu Laoda. First of all, Lin Yi knew Chen Shi's personality. Second, Zhu Laoda wanted to harm Chen Shi's mother, so Chen Shi wouldn't be in cahoots with him. If Zhu Laoda was a poor scavenger like Chen Shi, then selling grass snakes here, Linny wouldn't find it strange. But Zhu Laoda was an earth-class master, selling grass snakes here. This was a bit strange. Before, when Gao Xiaofu went to buy the snake, Zhu Laoda didn't want to sell it. This was also seen by Lin Yi. So Lin Yi felt that there might be a problem with the snake. Now that Gao Xiaofu was bitten, the wound was swollen, and his breathing was rapid, it proved this point. With Lin Yi's experience of living in the wild, this type of grass snake was not poisonous, so it was impossible for it to have the symptoms Gao Xiaofu had. Zhu Laoda saw that Chen Shi was bitten, but not only did he not save her, but he also ran away. This made Lin Yi smell a conspiracy. Chen Shi's face became more and more unsightly, and her breathing became more rapid. It looked like she could not hold on any longer, and was about to faint on the ground. Of course, everyone's attention was on Gao Xiaofu and Pinliang. No one paid attention to Chen Shi. Lin Yi sighed. It seemed like he was forced to make a move. As for Zhu Laoda's intentions, Lin Yi more or less guessed it. If Lin Yi didn't know that Boss Zhu was an earth class, he wouldn't have thought so much about it. But now that he thought about Boss Zhu's actions, he realized how fake it was. Lin Yi didn't know what Boss Zhu's goal was, but it was true that he wanted to harm Chen Shi and her daughter. Lin Yi didn't know Boss Zhu's background and goal, so he didn't act rashly. Zhu Lao Chen, he said. Lin Xiao Lao De is. Lin Shi Shi Lin Lao De Chen, Lin Chen Lin 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 Lao Shi Lin said Lin, Lin Yi bro. Chen Shi blushed when she saw Lin Yi suddenly appear. She was a little shy, and her breathing became more rapid. Chen Shi was surprised and happy. Lin Yi bro, you're here too. Yeah. Lin Yi quickly took out his silver needles and sealed a few acupuncture points on Chen Shi's body to prevent the poison from spreading. He then grabbed Chen Shi's finger and started sucking. Lin Yi didn't think much about it. After all, normal poisons didn't have much effect on Lin Yi. Lin Yi also saw Zhang Naipeo and Pinliang's situation. Both of them seemed to have been poisoned a little, but they hadn't fainted yet. This meant that the poison wasn't too strong. And so Lin Yi used his mouth to help Chen Shi suck the poison. Of course, when Lin Yi touched Chen Shi's wound, the jade gave a warning. Lin Yi didn't mind. It was normal for the jade to give a warning. Chen Shi saw Lin Yi sucking the poison for her, and felt a little shy. She felt very sweet inside. Chen Shi had always lived at the bottom of society, barely having enough to eat. She didn't have the heart to think about love. In school, Chen Shi was pretty, but with a big sis like Ziyu protecting her, no one dared to do anything to her. As a result, Chen Shi's life had been very peaceful, and there were no disturbances in her life. But which girl didn't want love? In the dead of night, Chen Shi would occasionally fantasize that a Prince Charming would appear in front of her in the future. However, this Prince Charming really did appear in Chen Shi's life. From the first time Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao helped her, to the time Lin Yi took care of her family, Chen Shi had a good impression of Lin Yi from the bottom of her heart. But Chen Shi knew that Lin Yi had a girlfriend, and that the girlfriend was very pretty. How could Chen Shi do anything to hurt Xiao Xiao? And so, although Ziyu saw through her feelings, she still buried it deep in her heart. She didn't dare say it out loud, and could only think about it occasionally. Chen Shi's wound affected her nerves, and the pain made her moan. But after the moan, Chen Shi's face turned red. Would Lin Yi think that it was something else? Or would he think that she was seducing him? Girls were fragile, and she was afraid that Lin Yi would look down on her. In reality, it was just a moan of pain. What would Lin Yi think of? It was really Chen Shi who was worrying about nothing. Lin Yi sucked out the poisonous blood from Chen Shi's wound and spat it on the ground. He wanted to take out some medicine to stop the bleeding, but the next moment, Lin Yi's face turned ugly, because Lin Yi suddenly felt that the qi in his body was like a leaking balloon, quickly disappearing. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi went from late phase peak to mystic peak, and it didn't seem to stop. The qi was still disappearing, late phase, mid-phase peak, mid-phase. In just a short amount of time, Lin Yi had become a mystic mid-phase. There was something wrong with the snake venom. Lin Yi thought of the snake venom immediately. After all, the only thing he had contact with was the snake venom in Chunxi's body. So the person who did this had to be Boss Zhu. Could it be that Boss Zhu wanted to harm him? That was possible. If he didn't suddenly get involved in Chunxi's family's life, Chunxi's mother would probably be dead already. Although Lin Yi didn't know what Boss Zhu's goal was, he clearly ruined his plan. So it was normal for him to do something to him. Lin Yi bro, what's wrong? Chunxi saw that Lin Yi's face didn't look too good all of a sudden, and she jumped in fright. Could it be that her moan really made Lin Yi think that she was trying to seduce him? Chapter 16-19. Chunxi was a little scared. Lin Yi big bro, I was in a bit of pain just now so I screamed. I didn't mean it. It's nothing. Lin Yi paused, not understanding what Chunxi was talking about. He waved his hand. The poison in your body should be fine now. I'll apply some injury medicine, and your wound will be healed. Fortunately, this wasn't the first time that Lin Yi had lost his strength. Lin Yi didn't look too good, but he didn't go crazy. After Chunxi's question, Lin Yi returned to normal. He was a practitioner so he would lose strength. Pinliang, Gao Xiaofu, and Chunxi obviously weren't practitioners, so naturally, they wouldn't have this problem. Lin Yi wasn't worried at all. After applying the injury medicine, Chunxi's wound was no longer swollen, but Lin Yi's strength was slipping away rapidly. Thank you, Lin Yi big bro. Feeling the coolness of her wound, Chunxi knew that she was fine. She knew that Lin Yi was a skilled healer. He could even cure her mother's terminal illness, so this snake venom was nothing to him. But she didn't know that Lin Yi had lost all his strength in order to suck the snake venom for her. Pinliang, on the other hand, had finished sucking the snake venom for Gao Xiaofu. He saw that Lin Yi had injury medicine and wanted to ask for some, but he was too embarrassed to ask. He was afraid that Lin Yi would reject him. After all, Lin Yi must have known about the drugging scene last night. Lin Yi saw Pinliang's pleading look and smiled faintly. He tossed the injury medicine to him. Although Lin Yi didn't like Pinliang's apology yesterday was done in front of everyone, so the students didn't know about it. It was fine if Lin Yi was being stingy, but he was with Mingyao, Yushu and Kong Xiaobo. Lin Yi didn't want to embarrass them, so he didn't care about something as innocuous as this. Pinliang was surprised by Lin Yi's actions, but after thinking about it, he understood what was going on. He nodded silently and went to apply the medicine for Gao Xiaofu. When they were done, Boss Zhu ran up panting. Behind him was a doctor in a white coat. No one knew where he got him from. Lin Yi curled his lips. With this speed, Chunxi would have fainted by the time he got back. An Earth-class master running slower than a normal person? Who would believe that? But Lin Yi didn't expose him. At this moment, Lin Yi just wanted to find a quiet place to recover his strength. Right now, Lin Yi wasn't a match for Boss Zhu. Even a normal practitioner wouldn't be a match for him, because Lin Yi's strength had dropped from mystic to golden class. Lin Yi looked at Boss Zhu, who was acting as if nothing had happened. He turned to Chunxi. She go back and rest well, I'll be leaving first. Okay, goodbye Lin Yi big bro. Chunxi didn't want to leave, but she had no reason to keep Lin Yi. Holy hall goodbye. Lin Yi didn't have any intention of meeting Boss Zhu face to face. He took the opportunity to leave before Boss Zhu arrived. Boss Zhu, just wait and see. This time I've been tricked by you. We'll settle this later. When the noble house meeting is over, I'll have plenty of time to play with you. Lin Yi turned around and walked to Mingyao, Yushu and Kong Xiaobo's side. On the other side, Gao Xiaofu was bitten by the snake, and Pinliang's mouth was swollen like a sausage. Naturally, no one wanted to continue climbing the mountain, and they were discussing how to go back. Pinliang and Xiaofu looked fine, but they still wanted to go to the hospital for a checkup. They didn't want any poison left in their bodies, and it would affect them in the future. And so the group walked down the mountain. Lin Yi said goodbye to Kong Xiaobo, and drove back to Songsan with Mingyao and Yushu. Shield bro, aren't we going somewhere else to play? Yushu wasn't satisfied. It was rare for them to come out and play. But because of the snake, they had to end the reunion in a hurry. Shoo, Linny doesn't seem to be feeling well. Don't mess around. The miss was more attentive, and she could see the displeasure on Lin Yi's face. She asked with concern, Linny, what's wrong? What's wrong? There's something wrong with the snake venom, and my strength is rapidly disappearing. I'm only at the early phase of golden class now, and it's still dropping. Linny didn't hide anything, and told the truth to Mingyao and Yushu. Linny didn't need to hide anything from the people around him. They wouldn't sell him out. Ah, Mingyao was shocked. Your strength is gone again? What do we do? Can you recover? You're not going to leave again this time, are you? I should be able to recover. There's no need for me to leave. Linny was amused by Mingyao's words, and a smile appeared on his dark face. But this poison is really strange, and we don't even know who the culprit is, or which force they're from. That's good. Mingyao breathed in relief. That Chenxi, you know her? Is she trying to harm you? It wasn't strange that Mingyao would misunderstand Chenxi. After all, it was too much of a coincidence. No matter how she looked at it, it seemed like Chenxi was working with Linny. Yeah, I know her, but it's not her. Linny could basically confirm that Chenxi was innocent, and the problem was that Boss Zhu. Chenxi, on the other hand, was just a poor victim. And so, Linny told Mingyao and Yushu how he met Chenxi. Ah, so that's how we met. She's such a poor girl. Mingyao couldn't help but feel sympathetic after hearing about Chenxi's background. That Yingziyu, who is she? Linny mentioned Yingziyu a bit when he was talking about Chenxi, so Mingyao asked about her. Yingziyu. Linny couldn't help but sigh at the mention of the girl. You guys know what I used to do. I'm a mercenary. Otherwise, Uncle Chu wouldn't have hired me to protect you guys. Yeah, I know. You're an assassin and bodyguard. Yushu nodded. Ah, something like that. Linny nodded. Yingziyu's brother was one of my subordinates when I was a mercenary. He was my comrade in arms, fighting alongside me. Linny told Mingyao and Yushu about the pangolin. This was Lin Yi's secret, and Linny wouldn't tell anyone about it. Target =_blank. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.